Now for those most famous words in racing from our Grand Marshal, Jason Lee from Memphis Beat.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
The season premiere of Memphis Beat on TNT. Tuesday evening at 9. Right now, it's all about NASCAR. We're coming back on TNT with a green flag after you watch this. The second half of NASCAR's regular season gets underway today. NASCAR on TNT, happy to bring you the Sprint Cup Series and round 14 this afternoon at Pocono Raceway in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. Overnight rain, cloudy skies right now. Temperature is 67 degrees. A slight breeze out of the west, and yes, there is a chance of rain in the forecast here this afternoon. Hello and welcome once again, everyone. We are so glad you're with us for the next 6 weeks of NASCAR on TNT with Kyle Petty and Wally Dallenbach. I'm Adam Alexander. And Kyle, when you look at the last 5 weeks in the Sprint Cup Series, every winner has started 20th or worse. We got a few candidates deep in the field today.
Yeah, there may be a few that start like 32nd or worse. We're talking about Kevin Harvick. You're looking at Kyle Busch. And you go all the way back to the last race winner here, not this race winner, but the last race winner here, Greg Biffle. Those guys are going to have to drive past a lot of people. When they drop the green flag, they'll be almost a quarter of a mile behind on a 2.5-mile racetrack, and that's tough to make up.
And the thing about it is, it's hard to pass anybody these days, Kyle. So I think we've got a competition yellow that's coming out in lap 20. I think some of those guys that didn't have a very good qualifying run are going to have to gamble on these pit stops and try to get themselves track position, because you can see these guys are gambling a lot on strategy, and it's going to be no different here today, because we will be talking about fuel mileage, I'm sure, before the day's over.
No doubt strategy has been a key word all season long when it comes to NASCAR. So we talk about drivers starting deep in the field. Let's dial up the 5-hour energy starting grid. On the front row, Kurt Busch getting career pole number 14 yesterday. It's his second in a row. Denny Hamlin, a 4-time winner here, as is Jeff Gordon in row 2. There's your point leader on the outside of row 3. Ryan Newman has won here. Marcus Ambrose looking for his first victory at Pocono in row 4. And Mark Martin, 6 times a runner-up finish here at the Pocono Raceway. Clint Boyer, very good in this race last season on the outside of row 6. Row 7, Jimmy Johnson, the 5-time champion, pair of victories at Pocono. Tony Stewart got the first win for Stewart Haas Racing here a couple of seasons ago. He's joined on row 8 by Juan Pablo Montoya. Bobby Labonte and Casey Kane each have experienced victory here in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. And then there's Brad Keselowski. Talk about momentum. He's got plenty of it. A winner last week at the Kansas Speedway. Row 11, J.J. Yaley made his way into the field. A great qualifying effort yesterday, as did Andy Lally starting right behind him. Brian Vickers with his first start here in a couple of years. Sam Hornish Jr. making his Sprint Cup debut in 2011. A.J. Allmendinger, Matt Kenseth, the pair of Fords in row 14. Gilliland and Nemechek on the 15th row. Kevin Harvick, 4th in both races last season here at Pocono. He's in row 16. Busch and Burton sharing row 17. There you see Casey Mears and Michael McDowell in the 18th row, and as you can tell, there are some big names deep in the field, including Greg Biffle, who starts in row 19 today. He won the last Sprint Cup race here in August. Let's hear from him. Kyle Petty, you got him.
Hey, Greg Biffle, this is Kyle Petty up here in the tower. Do you read me?
Hey, good, Kyle.
Hey, man, you guys killed them last year on track position. You've got absolutely no track position here at the first of the race. But you've got a long race. You got a competition caution at 20 laps. Will you guys do some stuff to try to gain a little track position, maybe try something different?
Yeah, Kyle, that's what we talked about. Greg Irwin and I, team engineers, talked about, what 2 tires will do for the car. And, depending on it's going to be a lot of grip this morning, or today, it's real cool out. So we'll try maybe some 2-tire strategy. Just never know what it's going to take to get some track position and try and get on sync with the guys up front. And we think we got a pretty good car. We just need to get some track position.
All right, man, run it like you did at the Coca-Cola 600 and you'll be okay. Track position will come to you. Good luck today, man.
you guys.
Greg Biffle, an impressive run here in August. The most impressive driver to this point in the weekend, Kurt Busch. Coors Light, the official beer of NASCAR, is the proud sponsor of the Coors Light Pole Award, given to the fastest qualifier in each NASCAR Sprint Cup race. This week's Coors Light Pole Award winner, as we told you, Kurt Busch. It is the 14th of his career. One last trip down the pit lane. We begin with Marty Snyder. Good afternoon, Marty.
Good afternoon, Adam, and everyone in the booth. You know, in Countdown to Green, we talked a lot about shifting coming back into play and playing a bigger role here at Pocono. We'll count Carl Edwards among the guys who is not looking forward to that. In fact, he told me moments ago, he said, for me, that's 3 opportunities to break something or for something to go wrong if I shift on every lap. So instead, they're going to try and stay in 4th gear for much of the day. In fact, he and his crew chief, Bob Osborne, worked on the 99 car, trying to get it where 4th gear was their best option, and they're pretty fast. Maybe not fast at the beginning of a run, but certainly fast at the end of a run. Let's head down pit road to Chris Neville.
Well, summertime is Stewart time. Over half of Smoke's wins, the 39 wins, have come between June and August. And Tony's the first to tell you he likes a hot and slippery racetrack. Well, it's not hot today, but in his last 10 starts at Pocono, he's finished outside the top 10 just once. Matt?
Chris, in 1971, Penske Racing scored the inaugural win here at Pocono with their very first race, an IndyCar race with the late Mark Donohue. Roger Penske brought his AMC Matador here in '75 and began a winning tradition in NASCAR. 8 different times they've gone to victory lane. Last week's winner, Brad Keselowski, would love to make it number 9. He has a very fast race car, but issues in qualifying forces him to roll off 20th on the grid. Stuck throttle issues. They still haven't been able to diagnose it yet. Ralph?
Matt, I spoke to Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s crew chief Steve Letarte this morning, and he said, you know, Dale Jr. doesn't get enough credit for being a student of the game. He's one of the best he's ever worked with, he says, when it comes to understanding the car and what it's doing during a run. And that is something today, Adam, that is going to come very much into play. He's going to have to work with that team to dial that car in. He's starting 21st.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., some ground to make up this afternoon, but he was very good here, as we pointed out in that final practice on Saturday afternoon. And you got to be good on a long run if you're going to have a chance to win today. And I think that's where Dale was most impressed with his race car on Friday afternoon. Now we look at the race analysis for today's event here in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. 500 miles. It is a long one, 200 laps around this 2.5-mile triangle. Pit road speed today, 55 miles an hour.
And somebody will get nailed on that today. This place is so hard to get. The pit lane is so long, and it's hard to stay at 55. And there'll be some guys getting busted for speeding.
It's so long, and as you come out of turn 3, you actually get out on the straightaway almost still at full throttle. Then you have to bring it down. So it's not like at most racetracks where you dive off in the corner, never pick back up the gas, you just drop her down on the apron and come in. These guys are going to have to go from full song to nothing.
And you'll see a lot of guys locking up tires, getting to that first pit, that pit cone. You'll see a lot of smoke down there in the entry of pit lane.
We've seen that cone end up in the middle of the racetrack on numerous occasions, and it may happen again today.
In the front row this afternoon, Kurt Busch, a 2-time winner at this racetrack, got his first Pocono pole here yesterday. Paul Menard, very good throughout this weekend, earning a front row starting spot, his best of the year. As they come off turn 3, the pace car will hit pit road, and we are set for NASCAR on TNT. Yes, it is time to crank it up a notch. We're ready to roll in the 5-hour Energy 500. The green flag in the air, and we are underway in Pennsylvania.
Good start by Paul Menard right there, man.
Big wide racetrack. Jamie McMurray taking advantage, pulling out of line into turn 1. Kurt Busch jumping quickly out front.
Yeah, it looks like Hamlin's got a good run up on the high side as well as Jeff Gordon.
Look at him in the back there, already 3 and 4 wide. This tunnel turn won't take 3 and 4 wide.
Man, look at the drivers that are back there. Jeff Burton, Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Busch, Greg Biffle. You better get aggressive early and often. Denny Hamlin already up to 2nd. There goes Carl Edwards to the inside of Jeff Gordon for a position. That 4th in the running order.
And a couple of years ago, we saw him repave turn 3 here, where you absolutely had, in turn 3, you had that extra grip out there. We saw guys right there going to the bottom. The grip's kind of equalized. I think it's still out there, but it's a little bit equalized as we see Denny Hamlin where he's left off here on so many occasions going to the front.
Some things change about this racetrack. One thing that does not, that number 11 car out front. It took him one lap. Denny Hamlin, the race leader. Kurt Busch, Paul Menard, Jeff Gordon, Carl Edwards, the top 5. You're right on board with the pole sitter and look back at Paul Menard. You know, the sleeper in this whole thing may very well be your pick in the pre-race today, Wally. Jeff Gordon just kind of laying in the weeds this weekend.
Well, he's already in a good position. He started up front, which is good. Whenever he usually has a good qualifying run here, he's tough all day long. You know, it's going to get down to when you start putting laps on these tires and these things start sliding around. That's when you're going to see the guys who have got good setups and not. Usually the first 5 or 6 laps, everybody's very, very even.
That was a good shot coming down the front stretch here. Somebody was trying to run Kyle Busch all the way to the inside of the racetrack, trying to block at that point. And you have to this early in the race. You've got a couple of laps that you can get the good out of these tires, and you've got to pass these guys. So you've got to protect your position at this point.
And all of these drivers know at lap 20 today, there will be a competition caution. If you pit before that, you can do what you want to the car with the exception of fueling it. So that's when the strategy will begin.
And something else here, these guys are, there's Harvick, 29. But one thing you got to look at is a tire deal too. You don't want to kill your tires up too bad. Here's what Kyle was referring to earlier, and that's the Childress team and Kyle Busch. I believe they've had some trouble in the past.
A little familiar, but you see, you know, Kevin runs him all the way down. Kevin's trying to protect that position. Kyle's trying to take it. But as we saw, Kevin ended up back in front of him.
Actually run him through the water.
Yeah, he
There's
did.
still some water down there somewhere.
Oh, Kevin a little sideways off the corner.
Yeah, and Kyle got a really good run up off that corner. And Kevin took him all the way to the end of pit road.
And I do that 1 or 2 more times. I don't think Kyle's going to be as nice about it.
And here's Kyle going around him on the outside. And I think, and it's like you say, when you have new tires and you're able to get that grip early on, you've got to maximize it. Kyle got a good run up off the corner. Kevin didn't want to give up that position. He thought he was passing somebody, but he just couldn't close the deal.
To add perspective on how difficult this racetrack is, right in front of these 2 drivers, Matt Kenseth, all 3 of them outside the top 20 in the running order. So they do have some ground to make up this afternoon.
And we talked about these guys qualifying bad earlier. As you see the 48 going around passing the 33 here for 10th place. We talked about this earlier. Their qualifying position has got them back in the line in the lineup here. We've run what, 4 laps? They're already almost 9 seconds behind the leader, and they're just losing ground when they're running side by side like that.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. You don't want to kill your tires too bad here, because maybe you just want to take 2. You're hoping those guys come in after 20 and put on 4. You need that track position. You want to put 2 tires on. So you just got to kind of sit back here and be cool, really, for these first 20 laps.
Jimmy Johnson looked really good here in final practice on Friday afternoon. And the 5-time champion has gone from 14th to 10th as he completed that pass of Clint Boyer. Boyer very good here 1 season ago. A little bit out to lunch in the opening practice Friday. Got things calmed down in final practice and looked good in qualifying yesterday. See Jamie McMurray right in front of Jimmy Johnson. He runs in the 9th position. Now back to a battle at the front. Kurt Busch started on the pole with Paul Menard to his outside. Denny Hamlin got around both, and now these 2 battling for the runner-up spot.
The 27's going to be good, I think, all day long. We watched him in the final practice. I was impressed with him. His car was good after 5 laps, good after 10 laps, after 15 laps. That's the thing you want to look for here at Pocono, is have a car that doesn't fall off. Have a car that's consistent, because there's a lot of other guys that are going to really fall off. And I think that 27 car, Paul Menard's, is going to be very good here today.
And we saw something right there with Paul Menard and with Kurt Busch. The give and take that it takes to get across that tunnel turn. We talk about give and take at places like Darlington and places like Speedways. But that tunnel turn is a give and take corner. You saw Kurt kind of roll out. The 27 had position. 27 goes on through the corner. If they go through there side by side, the 24 passes them with Jeff Gordon before they get to turn 3, because they have to go through there so slow.
And with 20 to go, you'll see just the opposite of what we just saw here.
It's all take and no give.
6 laps in, and one of the storylines we will follow throughout this day, those drivers that started outside the top 20, outside the top 30 in their progress to the front. Some are on the move. Kyle Busch plus 9 positions up to 25th. He's the biggest mover of the day. Dave Blaney, Greg Biffle, teammates Jeff Burton and Kevin Harvick looking good as well. No one has anything for Denny Hamlin right now. He's led over 500 laps at Pocono. NASCAR on TNT back at the Pocono Raceway and under caution for the first time today. Debris in turn 1. Pit road is open, and we told you in our opening segment today that there will be a competition caution at lap 20. That has not changed. We are about halfway to that point right now. You certainly can pit here, but you can't put fuel in the car until we get to that lap 20 competition caution strategy here.
I think you have to, you got to gamble on this. Maybe you come in and put on 4 tires now, and then just go for the fuel later. If you're in the back right now, if I'm sitting there back there and I'm a Greg Biffle or Burton or Harvick or Kenseth or any of those guys, you got to try something to get some track position because they're way back there. And the best way to gain it is to outsmart everybody, and that's to do it on pit lane.
Yeah, and realistically, that's almost not a gamble. If they are going to continue to have the competition yellow, these guys come in, they got 4 tires. We see guys coming down pit road right now from about half pack or mid pack back, and these guys have nothing to lose. They have track position to gain in the future in the next caution when we have it, and everything, nothing to lose in this one.
Greg Biffle in front of Matt Yoakum.
Greg Biffle got the 16 car in the wall a little bit. The team will take a look at that. His bigger concern, the car absolutely pushing tight. They're going to make a significant track bar adjustment and also push into spring rubbers in the right rear spring. 4 tires, obviously no fuel for the 16 for Greg Biffle.
Tony Stewart in pit lane 2, just going to take right side rubber. Little bit of damage at the right rear of that car. He got into the wall on lap 7 coming off turn 3, sliding the car through turn 3. Everything looks good there. Ralph?
Chris, it was strictly tires for the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's been working his way up through the field. They were feeling the car was a little bit tight, so they took 4 tires and no fuel. Made a little bit of an air pressure adjustment.
Of those drivers that made a pit stop, Casey Kane was the first to come off pit road, and a number of drivers elected to stay on the racetrack.
Okay, so I got a question for Larry. So, Larry, okay, based on I just came in now, I've got 4 tires. It's pretty important now to make sure that you put only the fuel in that you need it second-wise, right, if you're going to make a gain on me just coming in.
Well, the bottom line is this competition caution at lap 20, they're going to need about 2/3 of a load of fuel because, as you pointed out, only 28 to 32 laps. But honestly, guys, I think the reason the drivers that hit pit road that time hit it wasn't for tires. It's because they needed major adjustments on their cars like it was reported for Greg Biffle.
But even that 2/3 tank, if that's going to save you 4 seconds on fuel in the car, that's 8, 9, 10 cars
that you can get around on pit road.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
And as we get set to go back green, time to check the standings in our AT&T Fastest Pit Crew Award. Here are the updated standings following last week. If you'd like to tell us who you think will be quickest today, text your vote to 234-567. AT&T, the nation's fastest mobile broadband network, getting faster with 4G. And getting faster on the restart, Kurt Busch to the inside digging in.
Yeah. Come on. I was going to say, I thought Menard was really going to get hosed on that deal, but he hung up tough and got on that outside line. If he would have got stuck in the middle, he would have went back 8 spots.
When you go 3 wide like that, I mean, Menard's in the middle. He's got Jeff. I think Jeff just checked up and said, okay, guys, have at it. I'll give you some room right here.
Again, the niceness early.
Early.
Jeff Gordon, Carl Edwards lined up to go to the outside of Kurt Busch. All 3 drivers have experienced a great deal of success here at Pocono. Gordon able to make the pass, and Edwards going to try and go with him.
Yeah, this is a long straightaway here, and if you can get lined up, there certainly is. The draft does come into play here at Pocono because look at how long that straightaway is. So you want to get in line with some people.
Let's get more with the race leader. Here's Marty Snyder.
Out front looking good right now for Denny Hamlin, but there may be some problems developing. Here's what he said on the radio under that caution.
My clutch pedal is not right, it's extremely hard. When it goes down, it doesn't release. It just kind of stays hard. It's definitely not right. 10-4. Does it just come back slow? Is that what you're saying? No, it just never feels like, you know, how a clutch clicks and then it, you know, it pops back out and then it clicks. It just is one hard, steady motion down and one steady motion back.
And Denny Hamlin went on to say, guys, right now it's working, but it's not good. You know, I wonder, Kyle and Wally, does that become more of a distraction than anything else for Denny Hamlin, especially now with everyone shifting a couple times a lap?
Yeah, really it does. If he was shifting, I think I would go into the not shifting mode. Because it's not a big deal when you're out on the racetrack, Marty. The problem is leaving pit lane. And you've got to have that clutch when you leave pit lane. If you don't have a clutch later on in the race after you make a pit stop, you're toast.
Yeah, the problem is really, as you say, it's not. I think he's feeling it on the restarts, and that's what he's saying. I don't think these guys use the clutch anymore when they shift and they're downshifting and upshifting. That's a thing of the past almost. But it is on a restart, and where it becomes critical is on green flag stops. If you've got no clutch, you've got to stop that thing, and they've got to push you off. Think of how much time you lose here.
Kevin Harvick has been good in the early going. So has Casey Kane, and look at Kyle Busch. We had those pit stops at lap 10 under caution. The top 13 stayed on the racetrack. And of those that made pit stops, David Reagan is the best. He is in the 16th position right now. Harvick, Kyle Busch, and Casey Kane among those who also took advantage of the caution to make an early pit stop. And here goes Kyle to the inside of Casey Kane, Ralph.
He's gained 10 spots. This would be number 11 if he can get it. They came in, took 4 tires, but Adam made no adjustments. He's very happy with the race car, and you can see why. Here he goes, getting another one.
Kyle Busch started on the pole last year, finished second. Inside of David Gilliland, crossing one more off his list. Let's go 2 for 1. He gets Kevin Harvick as well. Harvick pulling out there behind Kyle. Is that to suck up and get a little draft down this long straightaway?
I think that's more head games right now than it is anything to do with the draft. I mean, yes, you do that, but because of who's in the 18 car, I think all Harvick is doing right now is trying to mess with Kyle's head.
Let's get the story on the 29, Marty.
Well, that debris caution we just had a moment ago, well, Kevin Harvick's the guy who found that debris with the front of his race car. There's a small hole in the front. They pitted under that last caution on lap 10, made several changes to the car because the car is extremely loose, but they are going to fix that hole under the competition caution in 4 laps. They didn't notice it until they did come down pit road, though.
Jeff Burton helping his teammate, giving him a shove into the corner.
This is all head games going on right here, exactly. The 18 and the 29.
You heard us talk about give and take. That was all take from Kevin Harvick. He did not allow most of the time. And look, he's going to drive right over to his door, get that little bit of side draft, swing back out to the outside, and get back in front of Kyle. He's just messing with Kyle. These guys are just messing with each other's heads right now because the whole time they're doing this, they're losing time to the leaders.
And Kyle's not exactly taking it back. Here's what happened on the straightaway. So this is just all, you know, fun and games right here. Now when they get to the tunnel turn, Kyle was on the bottom, and Kyle probably took a lot longer to turn into that tunnel turn than you normally do. And what you're doing is you're hanging a guy out there that 1 second longer so his right front gets in the marbles. And I mean, it's just, these are all the little things you can do to each other to aggravate.
That's good stuff, especially after the week that Richard Childress and Kyle Busch have had. I mean, that's good stuff right there. I don't care.
The game
that's
within the game.
Smack talking, baby, right there.
I've heard a lot of smack talk out of you this weekend.
Yes, sorry, man.
Saw Denny Hamlin at the front. Told you Jeff Gordon looked good this weekend, and he has delivered in the race. Started in the top 5. It has stayed there. Right behind him, Carl Edwards. Jimmy Johnson has looked good. And we get caution for the second time today. And once again, it is for debris on the racetrack.
It's pretty close to our competition caution, so we'll see what everybody does here.
Fans, you voted at NASCAR.com/power rankings, and today's Pizza Hut fan favorite driver is that guy, Jimmy Johnson. And why wouldn't you root for him? Johnson started 14th today and has already worked his way up to 5th. And we can confirm, even though this caution comes out shy of the scheduled competition caution at lap 20, this will serve as that competition caution, meaning teams can in fact fuel their cars when they pit here. Denny Hamlin, Paul Menard, Jeff Gordon, Carl Edwards, Jimmy Johnson, the top 5.
These stops are going to be really important here. You want to get yourself in good track position as early as you possibly can. And I think some of these guys that came in for 4 tires earlier, if they can get away with just taking the fuel they need, they may be able to make some hay here.
Yeah, some of them may just gas and go.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, exactly. Some of them may go 2 tires and try it. This is a 200-lap race, 500 miles. It's an incredibly long race. So if you're going to try something, if you're a Greg Biffle, if you're a Kevin Harvick, if you're a Kyle Busch, those guys that are back there in the back, it's time to try something. And some of the guys in the front can afford to try some stuff and maybe lose some positions right now because, as I say, this thing takes so long to develop and play out. You position yourself in the first 100 laps of this race.
Top 13 cars in the running order under caution here did not pit at lap 10. So they will definitely be down here and likely taking tires and fuel.
And just in opposite of that, boy, if you have a bad pit stop, it can totally ruin your day because it could take the whole race for you to try to make up that position. The pit stops here are really, really important.
Scott Riggs went to the garage. No other driver a lap down under this caution, so no one awarded the free pass. Second caution of the day, and pit road, no doubt, going to be a busy place. Denny Hamlin leads them down. Paul Menard, Jeff Gordon, Carl Edwards right behind. Ralph, you lead us off.
Paul Menard has said that he's a little tight in the center 2 and 3, needs more drive off of 1 and 3. Watch the front tire carrier. He's going to come around and put some tape on the front of the car as they go to the left side, and we go to Matt Yoko.
Jeff Gordon started and runs third. His car tight everywhere, especially into turn 1. They're going to pull a spring rubber out of the left rear. That change is complete. They're waiting on the left rear changer. He's away, Marty.
Denny Hamlin, top of your screen. Your leader said, I'm really good in 3. In fact, excellent in 3. Good in turn 2. He said, turn 1 is where I'm losing a little bit of time. We're a little tight in. Free off. Denny Hamlin will not win the race off pit road. However, 4 tires and no changes for him. It's Juan Montoya. That's your first car off pit road, Adam.
Yeah, we talked about the shakeup. Well, there you have it right there. You see all those guys in green. How many positions they've taken because they took 2.
5 of the top 6 drivers taking 2 tires. Juan Pablo Montoya, the first of those, and he wins the battle off pit road. Getting set to go back under the green flag after our second caution period here today at the Pocono Raceway. And today's green flag restarts are presented by American Ethanol. American grown, American made, powering NASCAR. See Scott Wimmer on the inside of Juan Pablo Montoya. Wimmer did not make a pit stop. Montoya took 2 tires on his stop at lap 19, and that was the first time he had been to pit road today.
This could get messy.
And most places it really does. You know, because you got cars with tires, you got cars with 2 tires, you got cars with no fuel, cars that just stayed out. Wimmer doing a really good job of just taking the green flag and kind of getting out of the way.
Oh, he hooked him just a little bit. Vickers just got into Keselowski there. Left rear tire just a little bit.
Denny Hamlin came to play. Already grabbing the lead away from Juan Pablo Montoya into the tunnel turn.
In these first few laps, I'm not sure he came to play or he came to ruin everybody's day.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a difference in play and ruin everybody's day. Yeah. He came for blood this week, it looks like so far. And this is the Denny that we used to see. You know, I expected this out of Denny at Texas. Personally, I thought he was going to run good at Martinsville and Richmond. The 3 racetracks that those guys were so high on. And I think when you go to a place that you really expect to run well and you don't, it absolutely kills your morale. And it takes you down a notch. But I think they've been looking forward to come here, and this is a place he needs a good solid run today.
When when you look at that group of cars at the front of the field, the only one that got 4 tires on that cycle of pit stops was the race leader, Denny Hamlin. Everyone else playing strategy and getting 2. That's why you see guys like Vickers, Keselowski, Earnhardt Jr., Harvick, drivers that didn't have a great starting position that are running up there.
Did Biffle not have a good pit stop, or did I miss something there? Because I think he lost position.
Yeah, unless they made more adjustments.
What's the story, Matt?
Adam, the game plan was, remember, they pitted under the first caution. The second caution, they were going to just take right side tires, get it full of fuel, and get track position. The problem, they didn't get it full of fuel, so then they had to come back in, put left side tires on since they were already here to top it off. Their scenario, their pit strategy ruined on that run.
Yeah, their early pit strategy, not their total race pit strategy, so let's be clear of that. But let's compare him to Harvick. These guys were back here running 24th, 25th, 26th. Harvick does the same thing. They come down pit road, get their 4 tires, they come back and gas and go, and now all of a sudden Harvick's up there running 8th. And this was the way these guys that qualified 32nd and 33rd found their way to the front, or trying to find their way to the front.
Kurt Busch back up to 3rd. What do you make of the early strategy, Larry?
Well, I guess I'm looking at Greg Biffle in that 16 car, who is now in the 29th position, and it's so ironic that I had his crew chief, Greg Irwin, in the countdown to the green, and in the keys, one of his concerns, getting the car full. That's been a story all year long with this new fuel can.
It seems every week we see that pop up and bite someone, and already in the early stages today it has happened. Greg Biffle, who won here at Pocono in August, hoping for good things today, and right now he's riding 28th as we work lap 25 at 200. Denny Hamlin and Mike Ford, his crew chief, so we're not worried about strategy. We came to win the race, and right now they are delivering. .27 of 200 laps complete here at Pocono. Denny Hamlin continues to lead. We want you to be a part of the fun here on NASCAR on TNT. We like to call it the TNT $1 Million Fan Challenge. Go on to NASCAR.com/TNT Million. Enter the top 10 drivers in correct finishing order of today's race, and you have until lap 50 to get this done. And yes, you can make changes, get them all correct, and you got a chance to win $1 million.
I can't believe as many people got as close last year as they did. I got like, one time I got like 6 in the top 10, but not anywhere close to being in the same order.
Yeah, some of them were off by just like 1 or 2.
Yeah, but I mean, but think about that, 10 in the right order. It's fun. It's fun.
Thinking about the million.
Yeah, I was thinking about that million. Yeah, I'm all for that million by 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 zeros.
Yeah.
Okay, let's be clear about that.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. knocking on the door of victory lane in recent weeks. He and his team playing a little strategy and running inside the top 5 today. And there is a storyline that has been developing in the early part of this race. It has involved this driver, Kyle Busch, and the RCR brigade around him. What about it, Ralph?
Well, as you said, Adam, they've been having a little fun together out there on the racetrack. You could say, well, NASCAR maybe has had enough of the fun, and they've warned both drivers to back it off and leave each other alone for a little while. And here's what Kyle Busch had to say about the warning.
NASCAR has asked us in the 29 to stop playing games and actually race. I delivered the obvious message where they won't get run all over the place. Yeah, nice of them to try to warn both of us. There's only one operative guy that you got to warn. Thank you.
That's good. That's Kyle Busch. Okay, what are you going to say? But, you know, we saw that developing. You know what I mean? You saw it developing after the restart. You saw it early in the race. But at least NASCAR has stepped in on this one and said, hey, just race. Let's just get to the halfway point. Let's get it, and then everybody can have that.
Kyle's not, he's in a no-win situation. Yeah. He's on probation, so.
Yeah, he is in a no-win. But that's kind of boys have at it except for Kevin and Kyle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Carl Edwards back up to 5th after the pit stops. He went around Brian Vickers there for position on track. And Kyle Busch with more friends to play with. There's Paul Menard. And look right behind him, Jeff Burton.
I think Menard is kind of in his own.
Yeah,
he's not part of that rowdy bunch. Yeah. He's just out there doing his deal and looking for good finishes.
And then Jeff The 31 and the 18 have a little history, but I think Jeff's so focused on having a solid run and getting his stuff together. He didn't come to play games. He came to race, and so did Menard.
And that 31 team needs to focus on track because it's been a struggle lately. Haven't had a top 10 finish this year, Chris.
Well, Jeff Burton started back in 33rd today. He's really working on the setup of that car. He's still calling for some more rear grip. They've been adjusting on both those last 2 pit stops. First one took 2 tires, got some track position. Second pit stop, 2 tires again. So he's moving up right now because of making good calls on pit stops, but he's still looking for some more rear grip.
And he has been a big mover today, Chris, up 19 positions on track. Very impressive as Jeff Burton in the early portion of this race as he continues to work with his teammate Paul Menard. Kyle Busch in front of this group in 12th, and right behind in 15th, Ryan Newman. A nice battle on track here as they come off turn 3.
But let's go back to that lap we just watched. Menard had position on the 18, but the 31 got a great run, and the 31 messed up Menard's position. So Menard ends up falling back in line. The 31 ends up falling back in line, and they're exactly the same place they were the lap before. If the 31 car had just waited, let Menard get by the 18, then it would be that way. But you don't think that when you're out there racing. Nobody's thinking
Yeah,
that.
I mean, if you get through one and all of a sudden you've got to run, and you're either going to run over them or you're going to pull out and see if you can make something happen. I think that was the case there.
Yeah, and it looked ugly there for a minute. I thought they were going to go 3 wide over the tunnel turn.
Juan Pablo Montoya took 2 tires on a pit stop at lap 19. He led briefly, but right now he's 2.4 seconds behind the race leader. That would be Denny Hamlin. 34 of 200 laps complete today in the 5-hour Energy 500 from the Pocono Raceway. Happy to have you with us for NASCAR on TNT in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. And there you see the front straightaway and the lead that has already been put up by Denny Hamlin. 2.4 seconds his lead when we went to break. It's now over 3 seconds as we ride on board with both Clint Bowyer and Tony Stewart around this 2.5-mile triangle.
On top of Clint Bowyer. That's a pretty cool shot. See him using the gear shift there down in turn 1. He'll downshift to 3rd. He'll grab 4th here again pretty quick because the RPMs come up really, really fast here. And you can tell when he shifted, it wasn't really that much of a shift. It was just almost like an overdrive. But then he keeps it in 4th gear.
And watch here. Just like we were talking about Denny Hamlin using the clutch. Watch his left leg. The little bit you can see, he never moves it.
It just keeps that car up on the RPMs. Actually helps you. The car's more drivable when you're up on the RPMs like that, especially when the tires start going out. Here's Tony Stewart's shot. Now, it used to be we used to downshift right here, but he downshifts a little bit later. Actually, he downshifted earlier than a lot of guys are.
I always like shots like this too when you're watching the drivers. The difference in the dash design. You see where Tony keeps his tack on the steering column. Bowyer had his tack up into the dash. You know what I mean? And that's just the consensus of where the drivers. If you have team drivers, everybody will sit around and say, well, this is where I like the gauges, or this is what I'm used to.
When you watch that little light on the left, you'll see that light maybe come on right there. That's basically, they call them idiot lights.
Yeah.
That tells the driver when to shift. You're too many RPMs. Now's the time to shift.
And we've got a great group on the technical side for NASCAR on TNT that helps put on all these pictures. But it's nice to have an assist from Darian Grubb, Tony Stewart's crew chief, and Shane Wilson, the crew chief for Clint Bowyer, who allow us to go inside and show you what it's all about.
Yeah, that's really a great shot.
Back to looking at the cars on track, and here's a nice battle. We talked a lot about Kyle Busch today. He's 13th, and that's Ryan Newman going to the inside in the 39 car.
And that was really good sound right there because you saw him get position on Kyle Busch. And from the sound of Kyle Busch's car, he rolled out of it to let the 39 have that position.
I think I'm not sure the 18's working on exactly like he wanted to. I watched him a couple times coming through the tunnel turn. The car looks awfully loose to me.
Time now for the KFC trivia quiz. And before I ask the question, I'm going to ask my friends to my right, Kyle Petty and Wally Dallenbach, to not blurt out the answer. Not that the two of you have any knowledge, but just keep it quiet for those at home, all right?
This one's easy.
Who has the most second-place Pocono finishes without a win? This is all time. Who has the most second-place finishes at this racetrack without recording a victory? We got the answer coming up a bit later on in the show.
I say, I don't know.
You don't really know? You know, though.
I know, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I'm not really book smart. I'm just street smart, which means I'm imaginary smart.
Second gear, 4750 at the line, 4750. I'll wait in line.
20 laps since they were last on pit road, and Kevin Harvick coming down here.
That's a little bit early.
Marty, what's happening?
Guys, this is way early. This is not a scheduled stop for Kevin Harvick. They did not get the car full last time. This has been an issue with a new can. You really can't tell when the car is full. They did not get all of the fuel into the car for Kevin Harvick last time. He will come down pit road. The car hung in the top 10 there. They took 2 tires on the last stop. Still loose for Harvick, down one round on the track bar. Also, there's talking about rain in the area, but about 10 laps from everybody else stopping, guys.
Okay, let's go back to the beginning when they pitted the first time on the first caution, then on the second time, and Biffle did not get his car full when these guys were running together. So that's 2 of that pair. They both missed it.
Unscheduled pit stop for Kevin Harvick. Not going to help him here this afternoon. NASCAR.com's ultimate tailgating vehicle is presented in part by Coors Light. Go to NASCAR.com/UTV and enter for a chance to win this tricked-out tailgate machine and find out where it will travel this summer. Visit NASCAR.com/UTV and get started. Denny Hamlin continues to lead this race, 3.4 seconds his advantage over Juan Pablo Montoya, and we have green flag pit stops. We start with Ralph Shaheen.
Ryan Vickers is in. He's real loose off of turn number 3. They're going to take some wedge out, put 4 tires on it, and also put some fuel in this car, Chris Neville.
Jeff Burton back in pit lane, going to make a slight adjustment because he's saying now the car is a bit tight. But guys, it was only 24 laps since Jeff Burton was horsed. So the RCR cars just don't seem to be getting the fuel mileage of some of the other cars. Marty?
David Reagan hanging around the top 15. His car has been tight. He said it chatters through turn 1. 4 tires and a wedge adjustment, trying to get that car to loosen up a bit for Reagan and maybe advance him forward as well, Adam.
And if you're not handling, that ruins your gas mileage even worse.
The first of those to come down on pit road under green was Brad Keselowski at lap 42. Casey Kane in front of Ralph.
He is, and they're going to take the track bar down 1 round, put 4 tires on the number 4, and put some fuel in it as well. Try to get this car handling a little bit better for him. He's all done. Service is complete, and he's away. Matt Yoakum.
That Ford of Greg Biffle, thirsty, still tight on exit, sliding the nose, especially down in turn 1. Air pressure change for Biffle. No chassis adjustments across the back. To Chris.
Marcus Ambrose still saying his car a little bit tight. 4 tire change and fill him up.
You hope. You hope he's filled up.
The stops began at lap 42 under green. Brad Keselowski the only one to come in there. And they've been coming in every lap since. Juan Pablo Montoya in right now, Marty.
I asked Brian Patty after the decision to take 2 tires, what do you want to see out of this? He said, if we stay in the top 10, we'll be okay. He's done better than that. Ran second this entire run, not a word on the radio. No changes, Ralph.
Kyle Busch is in for service as well. They're going to make an adjustment to the rear of this car as well. He's going to take 4 tires and a full load of fuel as well. The 18 is ready to go back out, Kristen.
Tony Stewart was complaining about the car being way too tight. They took the Packers out of the front on the last stop. Now he's complaining the car a little bit too loose. All right, adjustment at the rear of the car and 4 tires and fuel.
Tony Stewart, a 2-time winner at Pocono, getting his service, and Matt Kenseth has been in as well. Matt Yoakum?
He has already been in and out. Chassis adjustment for Kenseth. You can just see the tremendous amount of brake they're using here, Adam. When they took off the front wheels, brake dust flew everywhere. Kenseth said the car was not bad, just a tick on the tight side. Marty?
Well, Carl Edwards is hitting pit road here, Matt. You see him coming down in that 99 Kellogg's car this week. Tight, especially in turn 2. He said at the end of the run, it really got tight on there. Going to make a wedge and a track bar adjustment to loosen it up. Ralph?
Real loose was the call from Dale Earnhardt Jr. So Steve Letarte is called up for an air pressure wedge adjustment to go along with the 4 tires and fuel as he screams back down pit road.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. running inside the top 10 solidly when this cycle of green flag pit stops began. Back down to Ralph.
The 33 has just completed his stop. He had no grip at all on that car, so they went down on the right front and the right rear with the track bar on the right side, put 4 tires and fuel in the car. Marty?
Well, Ralph, Denny Hamlin coming down pit road very slowly, and what's been a very fast pace for him so far in this race. In fact, at one point, he was kind of playing games, judging himself off the second place car, but 3/10 faster for most of that run than everybody else. At the end of the run, Hamlin said it got too tight. They'll make an air pressure adjustment to loosen that car up. Matt?
Engagement by the gas man with the fuel can already around the left side of the car. Solid stop. Gordon said the car is free in and tight on late exit. Really not sure what to do. They were talking track bar, especially an air pressure change for Gordon. He is away.
Denny Hamlin making his pit stop from the race lead. Turns the top spot over to Jimmy Johnson. He is yet to pit. Paul Menard running second has not come down pit road. Neither has Jamie McMurray, who is running third, and you see Johnson off the pace here.
Yeah, and a bad place on the racetrack. Is he out of gas? Has he run this thing too long, or had he already come down pit road?
His teammate Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt Jr. have already made their pit stops.
And here's the thing, we'll see if it's still running. Problem is, Kyle, you know, when you do run out of gas, even if you make it to pit lane, it's hard to pick up the fuel. It takes forever for these things to restart. So, Ralphie, we'll have to see what happens.
You know, Wally, it's such a give and take thing. Here comes Paul Menard. He just says turn 2 is the best it's been all day, but he's still struggling at the center and the exit of turn 3. They're putting 4 tires, going to get a little bit out on the right rear, and they're going to make a wedge adjustment as well, Matt.
Jimmy Johnson just hitting that throttle back and forth, chassis adjustment complete, trying to keep that engine alive. He is away. The car's biggest problem, Marty, just loose on late exit.
Well, Matt, you might want to keep in mind all these guys who were able to run very long here at the end of the run. For Jamie McMurray, half round down on the track bar of the car, just a little bit too loose. Kevin Mannion almost apologized last time for taking 4 tires on the last stop. It'll be 4 tires once again for McMurray, waiting on the fuel to make sure it is full. They definitely did get it full this time, guys.
We go through a cycle of green flag pit stops. Denny Hamlin continues to have the field in tow. Some exciting moments on the pit lane from his teammate Kyle Busch, screeching to a halt as he makes a green flag stop at Pocono. And NASCAR on TNT. Glad to have you with us for Sprint Cup Racing at the Pocono Raceway. Denny Hamlin dominating this race, and we just completed a cycle of green flag pit stops. Paul Menard running in the top 10 when they began. Menard penalized for speeding on pit road, as you see Casey Kane going to the inside of Kevin Harvick for position. Dale Earnhardt Jr. will follow through as well. Menard, as we said, running in the top 10. He's now 31st in the running order, still on the lead lap. Here you see Clint Boyer, his crew chief, Shane Wilson, a part of our inside tracks here at Pocono. Let's hear what he said earlier this afternoon about strategy. Good to be riding along inside tracks with that 33 bunch throughout the afternoon.
Just watching him, he's shifting a lot. I mean, I think he's shifting maybe 1 shift more than some of these other guys, because he's downshifting going into the tunnel turn. So that's 2 extra shifts than like Stewart was.
Larry, every meeting we have had so far this year, we've talked about fueling the race car, and already today we have seen it pay off in the wrong direction for a couple of different teams.
Yeah, Adam, I think we anticipated this. So here at our torque, we've got the old and we have the new. This will be the system that teams used up to the end of last year. It's called the Kaiser system. The fuel man would fuel the car,
And if you remember, there would be a catch can man back here. The fuel would come up into this. The catch can man could easily see if the car was full. But now this year in 2011, we went to the Schultz, the self-fitting can. The catch can man is not there. And now the only way that fuel man can tell is fuel coming up in this tube. And what we see is you'll see a gulp of air come up in there. He nods his head. The jackman drops the car, and then basically he leaves, as Kevin Harvick did, especially changing 2 tires, Kyle. The car was not full.
And that's my question to you. I want to ask you a question as a crew chief. We saw Kevin Harvick have to come back down pit road and put fuel in his car. They didn't get it full. At the same time, on this round of pit stops, we saw the one car of Jamie McMurray stay in his pit just a little bit longer. Even though they had changed tires, they dropped the car to make sure. As a crew chief, what do you want to see? Do you want to spend that extra time in the pits and make sure you get it full?
I think this early in the race, you absolutely have to, even if it's a couple of seconds. We saw Kurt Busch, the 22 car, and Steve Addington do it at Kansas last week. Just 1 or 2 extra seconds. That beats coming to pit road about 10 laps early, like Kevin Harvick had to do.
Hendrick car's looking pretty good today. Dale Earnhardt Jr. getting around Casey Kane. He's in the top 5. Jimmy Johnson comes through running in the 6th position now.
And Earnhardt, before this last pit stop and the adjustment they made, was fighting a pretty loose race car. Riding on board, you could hear him really feathering the throttle coming off of turn 3, which was meaning he was loose. He looked a little bit loose down in 1, but then so did everybody in that last shot.
But you know, yesterday in the practice on Friday, excuse me, in the second practice, he was in the top 4 or 5 cars over a 10 or 15 lap run. He felt like he had a really good race car. Now that was really sunny. Now obviously it's cloudy today. The racetrack's a little bit different as we see Jimmy Johnson get a run on him. But I mean, he's got a good race car. They've just got to figure out which way to adjust it. And we heard Steve Letarte, or the guys in the pits, say earlier, you know, that they really like the way Junior is communicating with their crew. So they'll stay on top of it.
And this has not been a great track for Dale Jr. It has been for Jimmy Johnson, and he's now up to 6th. Time now to answer the KFC trivia quiz. Who has the most runner-up finishes at Pocono without going to victory lane? This is all time. And I know, for once in your life, you two know the answer, so go ahead and give it to us.
Well, the initials are MM, and it's not Mickey Mouse.
Oh, that was good, though.
That's a hint.
I had a lot of them on Twitter over here. I will say that.
We were talking about the Hendrick guys. There he is, Mark Martin, 6 times a runner-up finisher here at Pocono, yet to experience victory lane.
That's incredible.
It's heartbreaking. 48 starts.
I think there's only one person I know that started more races here than Mark Martin.
Richard Petty?
Kyle Petty.
And he doesn't have as many wins as Denny Hamlin. Next Sunday, NASCAR on TNT heads off to Michigan. Coverage begins at 12 p.m. Eastern Time with Countdown to Green delivered by Pizza Hut, followed by Sprint Cup racing in the Irish Hills. Denny Hamlin leading today, won here last year, and he won at Michigan last season as well. And Carl Edwards, while we were away, slow on pit road and then going in reverse. That's not good, Larry McReynolds.
I can only sit here and think back to the top of the show when it was reported that Bob Osborne and Carl Edwards were elected maybe not to shift. Okay, that buys you good fuel mileage, but that's a lot of RPM, especially on this front straightaway when you're staying with that 389 rear end gear the whole way around here. I just think that's hard, if indeed this is what's going on with Carl Edwards.
You know, and I was thinking about that this morning, Larry. I think there's, you know, if the Fords have anything over anybody right now, it's torque. So they can get around this place without shifting because they've got the torque up off the corners. But like you said, maybe it's running out down at the end of the straightaway. Maybe that has created a problem.
In the report that we got, the 99 of Carl Edwards down a cylinder. Many more stories developing on pit road. Time now to go through the field, presented by McDonald's. Marty, lead us off.
Well, Adam, you know, it's funny. I was talking to Mike Ford on Tuesday. He told me, honestly, straight face, I'm worried about this race coming up. He said, you got to realize that when Denny Hamlin was here for his very first race, was the first race we didn't shift at Pocono. So he's worried about Denny getting adjusted to shifting here. I would say he's done just fine doing that. The car a little bit tight. All they've made is a 1/4 pound air pressure adjustment today. Behind him on the track is Kurt Busch, our pole sitter earlier today, or actually Juan Montoya is behind him on the track in the 42 car. Juan said his car, you know, a little bit tight on that last run. They were the ones who stayed out on 2 tires. Clearly that worked. Believe me, crew chiefs up and down pit road have noticed that it worked for Montoya to stay on those 2 tires. Kurt Busch is behind Juan Montoya. He's in the 3rd position, our pole sitter today. Back-to-back poles for Kurt, but right now he has no side light on the car. He explains.
Hard to describe, but I just can't lean on the right rear for side light getting in. It's too tight. But then we're starting to lose that same side light on exit by trying to free it up too much. Can't quite lean on that tire to pick out loose on exit. Think about giving that a little bit of that track bar back to you and get some wedge out of it. That's where I agree.
And Steve Addington talking about going back on the adjustment they made last time, Matt. See if that can help that 22 out a little bit, Matt.
Marty chasing him down is a patient Jeff Gordon. He knew the track conditions were going to change a lot today. He started in cloud cover. The sun came out during the 2nd run. Now we're back to clouds. Gordon says the car is pretty good. We'll see what happens. Just a tick tight late exit. Meanwhile, the car that he owns, partly with Rick Hendrick, the 48 of Jimmy Johnson, he's about 6 seconds back of Gordon. His biggest issue, the car was just too loose late exit. Much of the race route, he has still been hitting the splitter on entry into 1.
Matt Dale Earnhardt Jr. says the car is turning in too strong into turn 1. Then he also asked the crew, hey, where is Jimmy Johnson shifting? The crew said everywhere. The next lap, Junior went 0.4 of a second faster. The crew asked him, what'd you do? And he said, I'm shifting everywhere. On to KCK now. He's up into 7th right now. He's been pretty quiet. He said the track bar adjustment has helped, but not enough. He needs to make some more chassis adjustments to car number 4 to keep marching up through the field. He's running 7th right now, Marty.
Matt, Ralph, I'll tell you what, it's been a pretty good day for Kevin Harvick considering all that's happened earlier in the race. You might remember he got a piece of metal stuck through the grill, but it did not puncture the radiator, so that wasn't a problem. Then they ran out of fuel, almost ran out of fuel because they didn't get the full tank full, so they had to come down pit road 6 laps earlier than everybody else. Yet here he is sitting in the 8th position. He will have to pit earlier than everybody else, but they're hoping that maybe they can get a caution before that, Matt.
Marty, the biggest problem for the 2003 winner, Ryan Newman, in the 39 car running 9th, has been track position. The car a little bit too free on exit of turn 1. Otherwise, he feels pretty confident with the car. The track bar adjustment has seemed to help as well, Ralph.
The 18 has been pretty quiet. He says things are getting a little loose off of turn number 3. That's what they're working on right now, Larry.
Yeah, I'm looking at Brad Keselowski in that 2 car, qualified in the 20th position. Remember, his throttle stuck on him yesterday, but what a turnaround for this race team. The first 9 races, only 1 top 15 finish, 1 at Kansas. Just remember, Chris, he wants to get in the top 20 in points with that 1 win.
Well, Jeff Burton now in 12th, coming all the way up from 33rd today. He's pretty happy with the car. Now he's complaining that the car was a bit too tight early on, but they've been adjusting on it, and he seems to be having a good run. The only thing that I've been watching with that team is they were one of the first teams to come in, so their mileage not very good.
And he last made a pit stop, lap 43. His teammate Kevin Harvick going to have to come in fairly soon as well. Denny Hamlin's got him covered today. His lead, 2.7 seconds. Back at Pocono, TNT Race Buddy on NASCAR.com. Back and better than ever for the TNT Summer Series. New this year with 10 camera views, twice the number from last year, and you have full DVR capabilities of in-race highlights. There's no better way to enhance your racing pleasure on TNT than with Race Buddy at NASCAR.com. Denny Hamlin leading, and you've noticed something with him, Wally.
Well, I've been just watching the onboard, and it's really bad news for a lot of people because he's not shifting. He's fast, he's saving fuel, and he's not shifting. Chris, you got the Tony Stewart car headed your way.
Well, Tony Stewart drifted all the way back into, I think, 33rd early on, but he's worked his way back up just outside of the top 10 right now. He's much happier with the car than he was earlier. The car way too tight early on. Now he's saying it's a bit loose, so they're going to do 4 tires, chassis adjustment, and fill them up.
Jeff Burton making his pit stop as well. His teammate Kevin Harvick came down pit road while we were away, as did David Rudiman, Martin Truex Jr., David Reagan, Brian Vickers, A.J. Allmendinger, and others. And here comes Kyle Busch, Ralph.
Kyle Busch is in. The car was a little bit better at the last round of adjustments. Water temperatures at 210. They're going to make some slight air pressure adjustments. That's about it, Matt.
Ryan Newman is in, Ralph. Chassis adjustment going in the back of the car, just trying to tweak that 39 as well. The Blue Deuce, Brad Keselowski, chassis adjustment for him, still not making the headway wedge that he needs. Ralph.
Looking to watch the happenings with Kurt, or I should say, Clint Boyers. His service has been completed and he's away.
See, Regan Smith is on pit road. Matt Kenseth has made a stop, as has Brad Keselowski. Dave Blaney, who had fallen one lap down, making a stop at lap 71 as well. These scheduled green flag pit stops. Ralph?
Waiting for the Vickers car, or I should say Casey Kane, to come in and make his pit stop now. And the Red Bull machine, number 4, making his way to pit road. They're servicing that car, fuel, tires. He's been very quiet on the radio. They make a chassis adjustment and he's away.
As Kane pulls away, here comes Joey Logano for a stop, Chris.
Well, and Joey Logano working his way up into the top 10 right now, sitting 9th. Going to make a little chassis adjustment here. He's been pretty happy with the car. They went the longest on that last run. They went about 28 laps. This one a little bit shorter. I think we got 23 on the board for them, but 4 tires and fuel. Marty?
Chris, Juan Pablo Montoya comes slowly down pit road. He ran second for that entire run, keeping the car up there. It's been very impressive so far in this run. He's a little bit loose, especially over the tunnel turn, but he doesn't want big adjustments. He told Brian Petty, very small air pressure adjustments and 4 tires. Matt?
And Marty, the 2 Hendrick cars, Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon cycling down pit road. This stop, right side tires going on for Johnson.
Ooh,
no
trouble.
A little bit trouble on the right front. Losing a lot of valuable time, this young pit crew on the 48. Now on the left side, Ralph.
Tire change went smooth over here on the 88, Matt. They put 4 tires on it and fuel. He was a little loose. That's it. Made a slight air pressure adjustment. He's away.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. started 21st today. An early 2-tire stop. Got him track position, and he has been able to maintain throughout. Solidly inside the top 10. Jeff Gordon coming off and will make a pit stop at lap 74, and right behind him the pole sitter, Kurt Busch. Both these under green, Matt.
And here comes the 4-time winner here at Pocono, Jeff Gordon. Easy entry into his pit box on the side. Jeff was telling Alan Gutson, I'm tight off the tunnel turn, but if you free me up anymore, I'll be in trouble. Over in 3, trying to get on exit. Air pressure change. Marty waiting on the fuel here.
Well, Matt, we heard Kurt Busch say he just could not lean on that right rear. The car was way too loose, and a host of adjustments for Kurt Busch, down half around the track bar, half around in the right rear of wedge, and also an air pressure adjustment, trying to tighten that thing up, especially on entry, waiting on the fuel once again to make sure they get it all full.
You know, if this even comes down to a fuel mileage deal, Hamlin's still got him covered. Because he's getting good fuel mileage because he's not shifting right now, and his car is handling perfectly.
Yeah, and he's just running his own race. He's rolling out of it. He's rolling back into it. I mean, he's saving fuel at this point in time. But that's exactly what I was sitting here thinking. If you looked at it a minute ago, we had Hamlin leading the thing. Juan Pablo running second. You had Jeff Gordon third. You had the 48 car of Jimmy Johnson. You had the 88 car. These guys are the last guys to pit road. They're running the best, and they're the last guys to pit road. So everybody else is pitting a little short, trying to do stuff to catch up and hopefully get a caution to put themselves back in the race.
McMurray riding second. He's yet to make his pit stop in this cycle. And we told you a moment ago, Jimmy Johnson had issues when he made his stop. What'd you see, Wally? Right front tire.
He had a hard time. I think he thought he had all the lugs off. He went to pull the right front off, and he had to go back to get the lug that he missed. And that was a 20-second pit stop. That's 5 or 6 seconds slower than normal. And, boy, that's a lot of track position when you're cranking 200 miles per hour here at Pocono.
Johnson running 7th right now, and he will move up a couple of positions when some of the other drivers that have not made pit stops come to pit road. We told you Hamlin has not made his stop. McMurray is not in this cycle, nor has Paul Menard.
I'm not sure what happened to Paul Menard because he was running up there for most of the race.
He had to pit,
oh, that's right. That's right.
He had to drive through. Yeah, he had to drive through.
And he's hoping for a caution now.
Right now.
But he's not getting it just yet. And now Paul will make his stop. Ralph?
Adam, he said he didn't want to get too far behind these guys. They said they're trying to do a fuel mileage thing. That's what Slugger Labby said. Paul went along with it. He wants to leave the handling alone. They're going to put 4 fresh tires on it, so they're playing the fuel game here as well, Marty.
Let's go down the checklist for Denny Hamlin. He's fast, he's not shifting, and he's got the fuel mileage as well, as Kyle and Wally were just mentioning. It's been a pretty perfect day for Denny Hamlin thus far in the FedEx team. All they're going to do is make a very small wedge adjustment for Denny Hamlin right here. He said he got a little too tight late in the run. That's really the only thing that he's messing him up, but otherwise the car very good, especially early in the run. That's where Denny makes a lot of his time. Oh, and a lug nut hangs on the left front, taking a very long time here on the 11 pit stop. This might cost him some time out on the racetrack, fellas.
Yeah, no kidding, Marty. That's, like I said, 4 or 5 seconds is about the same amount of time that the 48 team lost. So he still had a pretty good cushion, but it's going to tighten things up.
So Denny Hamlin has the issue with a pit stop. 18.9 seconds, as Wally pointed out. His issue began before he ever got to pit road. Look at this.
Yeah, that was pretty clean, though. I mean, it could have been a lot worse than it really was.
And he was lucky. He had 2 guys that had already pitted that were on fresh tires that were really sticking, and they knew where he was at.
And Gordon's going to be in the lead, or he will be in the lead once Montoya circles through. There's your leader there, yeah, Montoya.
So you compare the pit stops. How big are they? Montoya 13.4, Denny Hamlin 17.6. You see to the right, the entire time spent on pit road, the difference of more than 4 seconds. And that's why Juan Pablo Montoya is out front, getting on top of Denny Hamlin here at Pocono. Time to take an inside look at what's happening now. The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, brought to you by Sprint and Evo 4G, America's first 4G phone. Kevin Harvick gaining some 24 positions today. He has, in fact, been on the move. And the man who's been out front most of the day would be one Denny Hamlin. Yes, he has been impressive today. Hamlin turning the fastest lap of the race at just under 54 seconds. For more NASCAR stats and live in-car audio, check out NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile and the Evo only from Sprint at sprint.com/speed. Matt Yoakum.
Adam, a problem has developed on the 2 of Brad Keselowski. About 5 laps ago, he came on and he said, I have a vibration like I've never felt before. I can't diagnose it yet. And then a lap ago, he said, I believe I may have a loose rear wheel. We'll take a look at the wheels and see if there's any oblong holes. But that's what he is thinking on the 2.
Now, we hit on this at the beginning of the race. This is one of those places you just can't afford to make mistakes like this because you're going so fast here. If you have to come back down pit lane, unless a caution comes out, you're done.
Yeah, unless a caution comes out, and that's what we've not seen. We saw those early debris cautions, but, you know, we've gone a long time here. So we've had a couple of green flag cycles, and when you have those green flag cycles and you make a mistake, it just compounds your problem. And this is the worst place to have a loose wheel. I'm telling you, I've seen some really hard hits up here through the year, breaking studs, breaking wheels, stuff like that. So you've got to come in and get it fixed.
Or anything, even a flat, because it takes you so long to get back to pit lane.
Montoya, the race leader, he took over on a cycle of green flag pit stops about 10 laps ago. Denny Hamlin, who has dominated this race today, leading 72 laps, is about 6 seconds behind. And here is Clint Boyer. He's had a decent afternoon. Clint running in the 16th position. We go inside tracks with crew chief Shane Wilson. Plenty of work on pit road this afternoon. With that, we deliver our AT&T fastest pit crew update. Take a look at the teams that have spent the least amount of time on pit road this afternoon. This is an important area. No big surprises there. Montoya leading out front.
And Kurt Busch having a good day, 3rd right now. Don't forget to vote by texting the car number for the pit crew you think will average the least amount of time on pit road in today's race. You can do so by texting the car number to 234-567.
You look at those numbers, you kind of, the first thing I think about is, well, I wonder if they got all the fuel in the car.
Yeah, exactly. and that's going to be an issue. And two things. Sun's out right now. Where'd the sun come from? I can't believe the sun's out. That's going to change the racetrack and some of the adjustments that these guys have been chasing.
Right.
If the racetrack frees up, because we've heard guys talk about freeing their cars up from being tight. If it gets real hot and slick, these guys are going to roll those back in. But you know, the funny thing, we're talking about Montoya here. We saw the difference between the 11's pit stop and the 42, and it was 4 seconds. Right now, he's 5.3 ahead. 4 of those seconds was lost on pit road, not on the racetrack. Right. And it's like you were talking about. You've got to hit all your marks. You've got to get all your stuff. But at the same time, we're sitting up here in the booth. We don't know whether he got it fuel full or not. He may just have 1 can in it and then have to pit early and give it all back. And we've seen it with some of the other teams.
What's the latest on Brad Keselowski, Matt?
The day has taken a turn for the worse, Adam. Paul Wolfe, crew chief, looked at the wheels that came off the Blue Deuce. They looked fine. Then he just asked his driver, Brad Keselowski, do you still have the vibration? He said affirmative. Still have a vibration.
Okay. Now, if you have a wheel vibrating, that's one thing. These guys are shifting. Do we have a drivetrain vibration? Has he jammed this thing in gear, twisted the drive shaft? Is he off one spline? Has something happened inside the transmission? Now he's got a drivetrain vibration.
Man, that thing, I watched that left rear wheel bounce real bad.
It almost looked like it came up off the ground.
Yeah.
And that may be part of his problem. Maybe he's broken a shock, maybe something like that. It's hard to diagnose it with these cars because they run the rear sway bars, they run the front sway bars. You don't have a lot of feel with it.
So Brad Keselowski 1 lap down in 29th. He's got issues today, but not as big as the man who had the point lead entering today's race, Larry.
Yeah, Adam, I went down to the garage area, and there is about 12 mechanics around that 99 car of Carl Edwards. I remember our points leader. I talked to Jack Roush. Here's what Jack told me. Now, this is actually an intake valve, but it broke the head off of an exhaust valve. And how they found that, they pulled a spark plug out, and they take a borescope. It's almost like an x-ray machine. They were able to look down in there, and they could see the head of the valve laying on top of the piston. Now, what Jack told me, what they could see, it's not done a lot of damage. So what they're doing right now, they've pulled the intake manifold off, and they're trying to fish this head out of there. Jack said, Larry, if we're not successful, I'm going to pull the cylinder head off. He said, we still got a lot of time and a lot of race to go. Remember, only 1 point per position. Comes in here as our points leader by 40 points. A lot of work going on Carl Edwards' car.
It's always nice to have toys, and Larry McReynolds has got them all down at the Toyota Torque Car. Juan Montoya feeling good about himself. He leads this race 4.3 seconds in front of Denny Hamlin. Welcome back to Pocono Raceway. This triangular track has been here since the 1960s. 1974, the first visit for NASCAR. August of that year, the King, Richard Petty, went to Victory Lane. Plenty of racing history when you come here. You got the Hall of Famers, and then you got the other guy, Kyle Petty.
And you got the not the Hall of Famers. That's okay, dude. I used to drive that car.
Oh, wasn't it fun to watch? Denny Hamlin helping give you an inside view of what's happening here today. And fans, if you want more TNT coverage, the Coca-Cola in-car camera on Race Buddy lets you ride shotgun with the Coca-Cola Racing family of drivers. Check it out now. It's on NASCAR.com's Race Buddy.
Taking a liar out of me.
He just started.
Yeah, he just started shifting again. Now, that could be because the sun came out, the track's getting slipperier, and when the track gets slipperier, that downshifting helps a lot.
Could it be this? Maybe not, but he was leading earlier, wasn't shifting at all, had a little ground to make up, and he's doing it. Yeah. He was 6.5 seconds back, and now the lead for Montoya, 3.2.
And that could be part of it too, but we're also at the halfway point in the race. He's still running in the top 2 or 3. This could be a fuel mileage experiment for him too. Shift some, let me see what our fuel mileage is on the next run. You don't know where these guys are or what they're thinking. And We can't outguess them. They're incredibly smart guys, and I'm not that smart. Let's just be honest.
Speaking of, let's go down to Marty.
Let's go to Marty, the smartest guy down there.
Not smart guys, right, Wally? I know where you're getting at with that. Yes, that was the plan all along for Mike Ford and Denny Hamlin. If they were in traffic, they would shift. Obviously, he's got a little traffic to work through to get back to the front. But when he's out front, not shift as much as they can because they want to save as much fuel as they could. And you guys are dead on. This track has drastically changed. A lot of guys have really gotten very loose out there, and some guys have gotten a lot faster, like Kurt Busch, one of the fastest cars on the track, clearly was not when it was cloudy.
Yeah, you're right, Marty. There's some guys that were actually a little bit tight. This guy being one of them. I think his car was tight at the end of a fuel run. So normally, when the sun comes out, it loosens up the cars, which is just going to make him faster yet.
Exactly.
That's just going to help him and hurt some of those guys that have been chasing, you know, the other way.
Yeah.
And now they're going to be even more loose.
Yeah, because we've heard guys say, I'm tight, I'm freeing it up, and then the sun pops out and you're double freed up.
Right.
You know what I mean? And now you've got to put all the adjustments back into it. And you know, chasing the racetrack, chasing another race car and racing another race car is one thing. Chasing your car in the racetrack is hard for a crew chief.
And to make your guys' point on the track change, look at the weather. We started today's race 67 degrees. It's now 74. And we have got sunshine, something we haven't seen all day. And
yes,
Jeff Burton off the pace.
He's way off the pace because he's on the access road.
And the access road, the road that you can take to avoid being on the track when you come through turn 3, Chris.
Well, Jeff Burton concerned that he could potentially be out of fuel. He was in just 22 laps ago, but telling the crew that the car shut off, so he's rolling to pit lane right now.
Man, that's way short, isn't it?
Way short. That's way short than his first. Way short. Even than his first stop.
But you know, we've already seen Rudeman, Truex, McMurray, Allmendinger, all have made green flag pit stops here. Vickers is in, so is Mark Martin. Let's hear about Vickers with Ralph.
Help make this car head a little bit better. They're going to put 2 turns of wedge in that left rear, fill them up with fuel, put tires on it, he's away.
See Jeff Burton coming to a stop here and getting his service. He was running in the 13th position when he was off the pace.
But he lost so much time because if he is out of fuel, and you see those guys squirting the fuel in there, Chris, they're going to have a hard time on this one.
Yeah, well, it sounds like he's getting it fired occasionally, but then it shuts off again. So they're doing fuel and tires. He's been pretty happy with the setup, and they've been making a lot of ground. But the one reason he said he's falling back from the leader is he hasn't been shifting. Matt?
Chris, absolutely no headway made on the 16 of Greg Biffle. Still fighting the same thing. The car extremely tight on entry and absolutely no forward grip off. Significant chassis adjustment again, Ralph.
Matt, the 33 just will not turn for Clint Boyer. It's loose off. They took a pound of air out of the left front.
And we had a speeding penalty. Brian Vickers nabbed when he came down and made his green flag pit stop. That's the second time today we have seen someone caught speeding in a cycle of green flag stops. And here comes Kevin Harvick onto pit road. Lap 95, Marty.
You know, the interesting thing, Adam, earlier in this race, Harvick was the only one on this pit cycle. Now there's like 10 or 11 cars that are in this pit cycle, but they desperately need a caution. They have a car, time-wise, that's about a top 5 race car, but they just can't get it up front and get the track position they need. 2 loose for Harvick and 4 tires, Chris.
Marcus Ambrose saying that the car is a bit tight, so they're going to take some spring rubbers out of the right rear. Also a chassis adjustment, take a little bit of air out of the right rear too. And 4 tires and fuels for Marcus. And it sounds like Joey Logano is also in. Joey's been pretty happy with the car. They've been doing very well on their fuel runs. Greg Zipadelli's been asking Joey, what do you need, bud? What do you need? And he says, hey, whatever you're doing, everything's looking good right now.
So as Ambrose and Logano pull away, here comes Dale Earnhardt Jr. making his scheduled stop. Looks like it's going to be 4 tires for the 88. Ryan Newman is in. Teammate and boss Tony Stewart making a green flag stop in lap 95. As is Matt Kenseth. Let's go down to Matt Yoakum.
And Ryan Newman's biggest complaint that the car was just too loose in turn 1 on entry and exit. But he slowed down and picked up on the stopwatch. Meanwhile, Matt Kenseth said this last run was the best run he has had all day. He hopes the sun stays out. Slight air pressure change for the 17.
Kyle Busch Also came down pit road, got his green flag service. The race leader, Juan Pablo Montoya, now out front by 1.9 seconds over second place Denny Hamlin. Hamlin has shaved 5 seconds off the lead in this run. Casey Kane is in, Ralph.
Casey Kane's been pretty happy with this car. He's been very quiet, too. The one thing they've been keeping an eye on is what the temperature is doing. He at one point thought he had something that was stuck to the front of the car. In reality, it's just the sunlight that's been out. They're keeping an eye on it because they want to know if they need to pull some tape off the front of that number 4.
Not a bad day for Casey Kane. A bad day gone worse for his teammate Brian Vickers. We told you he was caught speeding on pit road. When he paid his pass-through penalty, speeding again. A stop and go for Vickers, Ralph.
27 of Paul Menard is in. They're going to make a chassis adjustment on the right rear, put 4 tires on it, and fuel him up and send him back out. Again, remember, they're playing a fuel game here.
Top 5 cars in the running order have not pitted. Montoya and Hamlin, we told you about them. Jeff Gordon has been solid today. He is 6.4 seconds behind. Kurt Busch, the pole sitter, is yet to pit in this cycle. He is 4th, 9.4 seconds out. And Jimmy Johnson, who had a slow stop on the last cycle, continues in the 5th position. He is 14 seconds behind the race leader, but is yet to make a pit stop here in this run of green flag stops. Montoya off of turn 3, and he will come down pit road, giving up the race lead, an advantage that was just over 2 seconds.
Seemed like that right front, right as he gets to the cone.
Here he comes, Marty.
Coming very slowly down pit road. He said, I love this car right now. Very good through the tunnel turn. He said, I got a little loose on power. And then Brian Paddock radioed back to, dude, that's probably the weather more than anything. The track is really changing. 4 tires, a very small air pressure adjustment once again. Matt.
And the 48 guys going to work. Track bar adjustment again. Young guys that Chad Knaus is working into the 48 program. Solid on the right side. Jimmy says the car turns well in the center, just needs help on exit, Marty.
The sun coming out has actually helped Kurt Busch. Their car has gotten faster. One of the fastest cars on the track during the last few stops. A little bit of a slip there on the rear tire carry as he came around on that stop, but 4 tires back out on the track.
Denny Hamlin now once again the race leader. As these guys make their way off of pit road, he is yet to come down, and he bypasses the pit lane again. Coming across the start-finish line, we are 1 lap shy of halfway, and Hamlin has now led 74 of the first 99 laps in this race. Here's Jeff Gordon, Matt.
Pitting just past start finish. Gordon says that the sun coming out has really changed the racetrack dramatically. Now he has a bad push off the tunnel turn, and the car is loose on exit down to 1. His great corner, turn 3. He's decent there. Chassis adjustment, he's away.
Jeff Gordon running inside the top 5 when he made his pit stop.
Once again, these guys have stretched again. And it's almost like they add 1 lap every time. They go, you know, these guys pit on 24, these guys pit on 28. Next time these guys pit on 24, these guys pit on 29. They just keep adding. But it's funny, the only guy that's really made up time and made positions on the racetrack is that 11 car.
Yeah.
He's 6 seconds behind, and he runs the leader down within 1.5 seconds before they pit. Everybody else has kind of settled in, and it's how they have a pit stop or how they don't have one.
But see, this is the kind of stuff right here that can cost him time. You got Montoya out there, made a stop, made a good pit stop. He's on fresh tires. He's running faster laps. Denny's on older tires, and he's going to be in traffic here. You've got to maximize getting into pit lane, making your pit stop, and getting out.
And that's why Casey Kane's pulling away. He has already made his stop. Those fresher tires paying dividends for him. You might have heard Mike Ford, the crew chief, say, come this time.
Yeah, you don't want to stay out there too long.
But the guys that theoretically that he's racing with, Montoya, the 48 car of Jimmy Johnson, the 24 car of Jeff Gordon, he can stay a lap or so longer than them. Because he's 10 or 15 seconds ahead. There you see him with Casey Kane. Casey Kane was running 6th. Okay, so he's that far ahead of Casey Kane at this point in time. So when you look at it, they can afford to stay out an extra couple of laps. When the cautions come out later in the race, if they do today, God only knows, then you won't be able to do that.
Here's the stop, Marty.
All the credit in the world to Mike Ford and his team. Never a moment of panic on this team when they did lose the lead on that pit stop last time. It'll be an air pressure adjustment. Also, half a round up on the left rear in wedge. The car got a little too loose there in the sunlight for Denny Hamlin, but no panic at all. Just cruising so far for the 11 team, Adam.
Denny Hamlin lost the lead on the last cycle of green flag pit stops. He was 2.2 seconds behind Montoya when he came down pit road.
And he's going to be more than that's the point I was trying to make. He came in 2.2 seconds, and now he's probably going to be 4.2 seconds ahead of Denny Hamlin if the way these things shake out.
2.2 seconds the difference when the cycle of stops began. Montoya back out in front at Pocono. We're past halfway. Jimmy Johnson on track. Had an issue on pit road earlier today, but Lindsay, he continues to stay inside the top 5 in the running order. 14.7 seconds. Johnson is behind the leader, Juan Pablo Montoya. And issues for Montoya's teammate, Jamie McMurray. You know, his last green flag stop, he didn't stay out nearly as long as what he had on the 2 runs previous, and now smoke coming from the rear end of the 1 car. So a mechanical issue here for Jamie McMurray. Perhaps some damage for Greg Biffle.
This would not be the first time today. He's been in the wall a couple of times already. Greg's obviously, let's listen here. That's a pretty good slam right there.
You know, but these old cars are tough. These things are not like the Cup stuff that are the old cars that we used to run. You touch a wall like that, knock the rear end housing over 1/4 inch or more.
Montoya leading Denny Hamlin, 5.3 seconds the advantage at Pocono. .109 of 200 laps complete in the 5-hour Energy 500 at Pocono Raceway. Juan Pablo Montoya, your leader, 4.1 seconds in front of Denny Hamlin. And now we take an inside look at what's happening in the Sprint Cup Series, brought to you by Sprint and Evo 4G, America's first 4G phone. Top speed in the race today. How about Brian Vickers hitting 206 miles per hour?
And that was in pit lane.
Yeah, good call. Good call.
He's been penalized twice for speeding on pit road. Most laps led today. Denny Hamlin, 76 circuits. He has been out front this afternoon. For more NASCAR stats and live in-car audio, you can check out NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile and the Evo Only from Sprint at sprint.com/speed. And now we have our 3rd caution of the day. It's for debris. We had 2 in the first 20 laps, and now we've got our first in nearly 100 laps.
Now we're going to reset the fuel mileage for these guys.
Now we start from scratch.
Now we start from scratch. So now it becomes a 90-lap race.
A.J. Allmendinger, who has struggled today, the first car 1 lap down, he will receive the free pass under this caution. And the first recipient of the free pass today, because the first 2 cautions, we didn't have anyone a lap down in those early stages of the race. So Allmendinger, the first to gain that benefit this afternoon. Montoya leads it. He had an advantage of right around 4 seconds when the caution came out. Denny Hamlin, as we showed you a moment ago, dominated this race when it comes to laps led. He is 2nd. Jeff Gordon, Kurt Busch, Jimmy Johnson, the top 5. Casey Kane is 6th. Dale Jr., Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, and Ryan Newman, the top 10. You want to win $1 million? You can do it by going to NASCAR.com/TNT Million. All you got to do is pick the top 10 finishers of one of our TNT races in the correct finishing order, and you'll be in line for $1 million. You have to have your picks in by the 1/4 mark of the race, but you can change them till you get to that first quarter mark, and that's a luxury to have when you're trying to win some cold cash.
I'm out this week already.
You're out? Yeah,
the 99, when the 99 went to the garage area, I'm out. I'm going to say something. That UTV, that ultimate tailgating vehicle, I was in New York with that thing the other day. One of the coolest things I've ever seen. And it's no joke. I mean, it's like got the grill, got the taps, got the ice makers, got the refrigerators, got the flat screen TV, got the satellite dish. It's got it all.
Does it come with the driver?
Look, I just want to park it behind my house and live in it so I don't have to go back in the house.
There are things in life that are overrated. the ultimate tailgating vehicle? Absolutely.
If you're a
spot
guy.
on.
If you're a guy.
Yeah.
It's a guy thing. It's a guy thing. They did throw in a nice little restroom in case you do have like
company.
You know what I mean?
That's good.
I mean, but most of the guys would just climb up on top and go.
Everyone
like
on
off,
pit
you know
road.
what I mean?
Anticipating pit stops here. They will come at lap 112. We told you Montoya is the race leader. Hamlin, Gordon, Kurt Busch, and Jimmy Johnson join him inside the top 5. Casey Kane riding 6th. He'll pit here as well. Ralph?
He told the crew to take a deep breath. Get ready. Here he comes. They've only got 13 laps on these tires, but he said the back end is still a little bit loose. They plan on going a half round down on the track bar, Matt.
Getting very dark down toward turn 1. Jeff Gordon noticed that. He stops in his pit box. Gordon says the car getting looser on that run, but the car did not really feel that bad. Didn't want a big change. Marty.
Denny Hamlin, middle of your screen. He said the car's a little bit too tight still. They're going to take 4 tires here. Top of your screen, Juan Pablo Montoya will go 2 tires once again under caution, trying to keep that track position. And once again, Montoya will win the race off pit road. We know how important that track position is, right, guys?
You know, Marty, I understand that, but when you're leading, I don't know if he should have went 2.
Paul Menard joining Montoya as a driver that got 2 tires. He's up to 8th. We'll reset the running order when we return to Pocono.
Just worried about my start now, but yeah, it's a loss. I don't even know what to say. Not making grip, boys.
Copy that. We'll just go to the 27 air here. Try that. They're up a little more in the rears. We can just try it, make sure we're not fooling ourselves coming way down here.
Listening in on Clint Boyer and crew chief Shane Wilson via Inside Tracks on TNT. It's been a bit of a struggle for that race team this weekend. They are 14th in the running order. Dale Earnhardt Jr. not bad. 7th is where he is this afternoon.
Seems like as the race goes, I'm losing a little bit of my competitiveness as we go for whatever reason. If I just need to be loose and just deal with it, I'll just deal with it. I think the track's freeing up though, Junior. It's not just us.
That's why I'm still baffled about this 2-tire change, Kyle.
Especially with the sun out.
With the sun out, and you're the leader.
Yes.
Jeff Gordon.
You had everything to gain and nothing to lose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We see how this thing works out, but I'd sure like 4 tires right now with the sun out.
Gordon got 4, and right behind him, Hamlin got 4 on the restart.
Kurt Busch, well, I mean, see ya. Kurt Busch on the outside with 4 fresh tires. Goodbye.
Well, I don't think it's going to end there. Jeff Gordon going down to the inside of Juan Pablo Montoya for 2nd. Here comes Denny Hamlin. Jimmy Johnson lining up.
I think Montoya's going to. He's seen a lot of these cars go by.
Big break, that caution coming out. Paul Menard, very competitive early.
Yeah, that puts him definitely back in the hunt. Although this is not good. Yeah, the inside going into 3 is never good.
Yeah, Menard, another one of those that got 2 tires there.
But he was forced to take 2 because he was all but the last car on the lead lap. He was forced to take 2, and to Wally's point, he was forced to take 2 to get back in the ball game. Montoya was running the ball game at that time, as we see some of the wave rounds come down pit road now.
Marty?
Yeah, guys, it was strictly a track position play, and remember the 2 tires worked for them earlier, and obviously, Brian Patty wouldn't make the call now, but earlier in the race, that's how they got up to the front, so Brian Patty was just thinking, let's get the track position and keep it this time as well.
Okay, I don't understand how you got track position when you're leading the race.
Yeah, that's right.
That is track position.
When you are the leader, you don't look for track position, you look for 4 fresh tires and full of gas. That's why we don't understand what that call was.
Jeff Burton, Mark Martin, and Brian Vickers just pitted. They were a few of the cars that took the wave around on that last caution. Brad Keselowski, Marcus Ambrose, Dave Blaney, some of the others that took the wave around under caution a moment ago. Kurt Busch's lead, 0.6 of a second over Jeff Gordon. Denny Hamlin is 3rd, just over a second behind. Montoya cycling into the 4th position, and then you see Jimmy Johnson right behind him with Tony Stewart and Casey Kane lined up.
Stewart's got a good run right there. He got out of the gas early. Looks like he's going to trying to make a move here. How about Stewart's car now, Chris?
Well, Tony Stewart has just been a bullet since the green flag came down. He was back in 11th when the green came down. He's up to 6th right now. He's been really happy with the car on that last stop. Made just a slight change, half pound of air out of the right rear.
Left side on board with smoke. Right side of your screen, you see him trying to run down Jimmy Johnson for the final spot in the top 5.
Downshift to the 3rd, going in. He's going to bring in her 4th gear up the straightaway. I'll downshift again here in a little bit, going down into turn 1. I'll throw it back down to the 3rd. Gets off turn 1 pretty good. It gets right there with the 48 car. He's gonna take a look, but not. This doesn't quite have enough car next to him unless Jimmy just lets him go. Nope. They're up on the RPMs.
So you ride on board there, and just before you saw those guys going at it, watch what happened in front of Tony.
That was a tunnel turn, wasn't it? It was turn 2.
And remember, the 27 car took 2 tires.
Yeah.
So as he got down under there, and you're on the outside of him as he goes across the tunnel, we talked about it earlier. It's tough to go across that tunnel too wide, and it's almost impossible on old tires, and the 27 only was half and half.
Jamie McMurray fans, we should point out to you that he's running 34th right now, 10 laps down. He actually went to the garage area for a brief period of time after losing 3rd gear. They have changed the transmission, and he has returned to the racetrack. Last week, an emotional week for Jamie McMurray, spending a lot of time in his hometown of Joplin, Missouri, with the tornadoes and the aftermath there, and you saw how you can help on your screen a moment ago. Now back to the battle in the top 10 between Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Casey Kane.
Earnhardt's going to take that spot away from Kane. That's the 9th position.
7 drivers inside the top 10 right now. Former race winners here at Pocono. There is an art form to driving at this racetrack, and for some it's like riding a bicycle. You never forget. When we come back, we're going through the field with all the latest. Kurt Busch leading. Kurt Busch, the race leader. Just behind him, Jeff Gordon, and issues for the 9 of Marcus Ambrose. Just took the wave around, trying to make something happen late, and unfortunately it's not going to pay off. We're hearing maybe a clutch problem for the Stanley Ford of Marcus Ambrose. Chris, what's the latest?
Well, right now he's saying the clutch is gone in the 9 car for about the last 30 laps or so. He's been dealing with a gearbox that has been failing. First he lost 3rd gear, then he lost 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, and has only been running around in 4th gear. So now he's got no clutch.
So we've heard the story on Marcus Ambrose. Time to hear the rest of the stories. With 75 laps to go, we go through the field. It's brought to you by McDonald's. Marty?
And we'll take you through the field. Kurt Busch wishing he could go through a drive-through right now. The car very good for him, especially when the sun comes out. That's when it's the best. The warmer it gets, the better this 22 is. There was one very small change on that last stop. Very happy out front, Matt.
Now Jeff Gordon started today 13th in the championship standings, trying to knock down another win to lock in a wild card berth for the chase. Gordon's car free on that last run. They are right on the window, Marty, of making it on 2 more stops here today.
Well, Denny Hamlin's still battling with a tight race car, especially late in the run. But what he has done inside the car, Hamlin has a brake bias knob. He's dialed in more rear brake. That helps the car turn a little bit better under braking. That also helps that tight condition. For Juan Pablo Montoya, the man out there with 2 tires, I just talked to Brian Patty moments ago. He said, that was my bad. He said, I honestly thought many teams would take 2 tires with only 10 laps on our tires. I was surprised we were the only one, Chris.
Well, Tony Stewart fell all the way out of the top 30 early on, but they've been adjusting that car all day long. Early on, way too tight. Right now, the car working well, but when the sun does peek through, it gets a little bit tight. Matt?
Chris, Jimmy Johnson lost that spot to Stewart, now in 6th. Jimmy's thinking that they should reverse the last changes on that 48 car. He says the 48 feels lazy in the center, which just kills his exit. Ralph?
You know, this is a track, Matt, that Kyle Busch spent a lot of time watching videos and talking to Denny Hamlin about because he didn't feel real good coming in here. However, right now he's running in 6th, says everything's pretty good with the car. He just would like it to turn a little bit better. They can fix that on their next stop, Matt.
And Ryan Newman's car very consistent today, really coming to life with small changes, but he says his biggest issue he can't do much about. Dirty air. He's stuck back in traffic. He feels like the aero push is really hindering his movement forward, Ralph.
The 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. is running in 9th right now. He's running pretty good. Feels the car is just a little bit tight, but the one thing that is probably working the best is the conversation and communication between crew chief Steve Letarte and driver Dale Earnhardt Jr. Marty, we talked about at the very beginning of the show. Letarte said he's very underrated as how the communication is. It's been outstanding here today.
Ralph, Kevin Harvick is finally on the same pit sequence with everyone else, hanging in there in the top 10 right now in the 10th position. He's driving the car he won with at Michigan, but they need a little bit more speed. Harvick is battling a loose race car for most of this afternoon, Matt.
The car on the move, Marty, is the 16 of Greg Biffle. Just climbed up to 11th. Now we're back in clouds. His car is coming more to life. His only big issue seems to be over in the tunnel turn. Just too free, Ralph.
Casey Kane has slipped back to 12th place right now. He's struggling to get the front tires to turn. That's the thing crew chief Kenny Francis will be working on when they bring the number 4 down to pit road next time, Chris.
Well, David Reagan started at 11th, running 13th now. He's been complaining tight all day long. They've been making progress, though. He said the car is the best it's been all day. Matt Kenseth 7th in the championship standings, currently 14th on the board. Kenseth and Jimmy Finney trying to figure out what adjustments to make to the 17 car in the next step to help with the grip. He's just concerned, though, Ralph, if they take too big a swing, they'll be dragging the front splitter.
Paul Menard, Matt, has been playing the fuel game here this afternoon. The car's pretty decent. They took 2 tires on the right side on the last stop. It's that sun that's going in and out, Larry Mack, that's been messing with the handling of the 27.
Well, if you look back there, the 20 car right behind Paul Menard, Joey Logano, started in the 19th position, running 16th right now. And for a team that sits 25th in the points with only 4 top 15 finishes, doing exactly what they need to do. Right behind him, Martin Truex Jr. in the 56 car started this race back in the 31st position. We're starting to see teams make moves and changes halfway through the race to the chase. Comes here with a brand new crew chief, Chris. Chad Johnston replaces Pat Trice.
Well, Larry, Tony Stewart, these last couple laps has lost 2 spots on the racetrack. He's complaining now. He's lost 3rd gear. He's been shifting in all 3 corners all day long. Now he's going to be using 4th.
Tough break, Chris, for a 2-time winner here at Pocono. And to circle back to a storyline that we opened up with today as you ride on board with Tony Stewart. How about some of these drivers that started way deep in the field? Kyle Busch, 6th. Kevin Harvick up in the top 10. Matt Kenseth, Greg Biffle. A number of guys have made big gains today.
And you can hear, go back to Tony here. You see he's not shifting now, especially in turn 1. You hear the difference in the RPMs when you're shifting and you're not shifting. The car lugs up off the corner more when you're not downshifting. So it's actually a little bit slower.
Tony Stewart right now still in the top 10, scored in the 7th position. Let's listen in.
I lost 3rd gear. 10-4, bud, 10-4. Just want to thank NASCAR for having us shift 600 times today. Appreciate that.
Yeah, you know, and he's talking about losing 3rd gear. Bad part about losing 3rd gear is means there's parts and pieces jumping around down in that transmission. There could be. Yeah. I mean, when you tear teeth off and things start happening, and we've seen it happen with other guys. And you're pointing at the RPMs right now to show how low they go.
2,000 RPMs difference between shifting and not shifting.
Yeah, and when you've set your car up and you've been driving it like you've shifted all day, it's a totally different second half of the race for Tony than it was at the beginning. You heard he was a little upset.
And a long way to go. Almost 70 laps remaining with Kurt Busch out front this afternoon. TNT Race Buddy on NASCAR.com, back and better than ever for TNT this summer series. New this year, 4 live in-car cameras and driver audio. There's no better way to enjoy a race than with TNT Race Buddy on NASCAR.com. Log on while you're watching us here on TNT. 135 laps complete. Kurt Busch leading the way. Jeff Gordon behind him in second. Denny Hamlin third. And then you got Juan Pablo Montoya seen here in fourth. And then there's Jimmy Johnson, 6.8 seconds behind. Seems like the 48's been in fifth all day long. Not bad. And he is our Pizza Hut fan favorite driver.
He's making some ground right now.
Ooh,
well,
he
it was
some ground.
that
was
leaving
ugly.
the rubber on the wall probably scrubbed a little speed off, but he's been making some ground up on the 42.
And Johnson not the only one. Kyle Busch behind him also getting a piece of the safer barrier off turn one.
You know, but again, the sun's come out a little bit. These guys have adjusted one way the first part of the race. Now they got to adjust another way. You got a little bit with the tire there.
Yeah, if you're going to hit it, that's the way to hit it.
That's the way to hit it. Just and they've adjusted themselves into a place where they need these cautions, or they need a caution to adjust back a little bit. It almost looks like.
Casey Kane, a driver we've talked about quite a bit today in the top 10. He's dropped back to 14th. And we were talking earlier, Larry, about the issues with Tony Stewart in the transmission. What do you have for us down at the Toyota Torque Car?
Well, when you think about it, 136 laps into this race, we know of 3 transmission failures. Jamie McMurray, Marcus Ambrose, and now Tony Stewart. And we talked to Kurt Busch yesterday, and he kind of shed some light on this. When you're in third gear, you're not in the one-to-one, and it generates a lot of heat. Some teams elected to go with a transmission cooler, some did not. In fact, Kurt Busch told us he would base how much he would shift and run third gear as to what his transmission temperature showed him.
I'll tell you something that I noticed, Larry, and I'm not sure if it's got a whole lot to do with some of these guys, but guys like Tony Stewart and Montoya and some of these other guys are downshifting as they're going down into turn one. And then you got guys like Denny Hamlin and some of those guys. They don't downshift until the RPMs are at the very bottom. They don't downshift until they're ready to pick up the gas after they go through turn one, which is going to be easier on the gearbox.
Well, and Wally, nobody is probably a better road racer than Wally Dallenbach. And, you know, we see these guys shifting without the clutch on the upshift, but it gets a little bit tricky on the downshift.
Okay, and Larry, let's be real clear. We heard what Tony had to say. NASCAR is not making these guys shift, are they?
No. They're not.
They're not.
I mean, because like I said, I watched Hamlin's in-car from up here in the booth for lap after lap after lap, and he never shifted for like 5 laps.
And the point was, and Larry went away, the point was NASCAR opened up the rules to allow these guys if they wanted to, but it's not mandated that these guys have to shift.
Right.
And that's just Tony's frustration at the opening up of the rule a little bit by saying, hey, you put us in this box. If other people are going to do it, we have to do it too. And now I've busted my transmission. You know what I'm saying? So it's not, that was frustration, but NASCAR did not mandate that these guys shift.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a slippery slope. You know, and like you said earlier, Kyle, sometimes when you sit in the car, but let's watch. I'm gonna watch here how Boyer's doing it. If we can stay on the shot, I'm just curious. He didn't go to the shifter that time. And maybe these guys are aware of it now. Maybe they're just taking care of their equipment a little bit more than they were earlier. But I definitely noticed guys downshifting in different places. And that's a lot harder on your gearbox if you're doing it earlier in the corner than if you are downshifting later in the corner.
Clint Bowyer 21st in the running order today. One of 25 cars still on the lead lap with just over 60 laps to go. Last time everyone pitted under caution at lap 112. We're at lap 139 and a cycle of green flag pit stops underway. Martin Truex Jr. coming in, and also A.J. Allmendinger making a stop. Marty?
And so it begins, the green flag pit stops, and they're a very wide window here of pit stops. Martin Truex Jr. has been one of those guys that hits pit road a little bit earlier than everybody else, but they have made a nice run through the field today. The car a little bit tight. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment trying to loosen them up.
And here comes the race leader. Kurt Busch going to make his stop at lap 141. Denny Hamlin inside the top 5, going to come right behind him.
Which is surprising because this is as early as I've seen the 11 car pit.
Marty?
Yeah, Adam, I just talked to Steve Addington a moment ago, and he said that they did get it full, but they wanted to pit a little bit earlier here than everybody else. They're going to go a quarter down on the track bar, trying to get that car to tighten up early in a run. Kurt said that's where I'm losing my time. Early in a run, 4 tires. That's the only change. Denny Hamlin also on pit road, 4 tires and a little tape on the grill for Denny Hamlin. You see the orange strip of tape they put on that front grill. That's to get that car a little bit looser for Hamlin. He's tight at the end of a run. Hamlin did want to pit with the leaders when they came down pit road this time.
Jeff Gordon took over the race lead, but now he will come to pit road. Let's follow his stop. Matt Yoakum.
Adam, 2 laps ago, Jeff Gordon keyed the mic and said, I brushed the wall. You might want to take a look at that when the guys get to the right side. He slides to a stop, pulling the chair off of Gordon. He says his car needs a little more grip on this 24 machine. Alan Gutchison's Matt says they should be good to go on one more stop. Possibly Jimmy Johnson's in. Track bar adjustment for Johnson. He needs more grip. He was reporting some issues over in the tunnel through with oil. No one else, though. Marty.
Juan Pablo Montoya pitting from 4th at the very head end of pit road here. 4 tires, a very small air pressure adjustment. Brian Patty said, I want you to count to 4-2 Mississippi. Once we drop the jack, make sure we get it full. Matt?
They're waiting on fuel for Greg Biffle in the 16. The last match, they were very, very close. At one point, 3 gallons short of making it on one more stop.
The new race leader is Kyle Busch. He is yet to make a pit stop. Here comes the 18 off turn 3, and once again he will bypass the pit lane. Ryan Newman 2nd, Tony Stewart 3rd, Dale Jr. 4th, Kevin Harvick is 5th. Newman and Stewart giving up position. Both will pit here under green. Matt?
And Newman very pleased with his race car pitting now on lap 142. He says the balance is decent. It could be just a tick tighter, but these guys are fighting the weather. Back and forth, the sun comes in and out. Ralph?
Loose off is a call for Dale Earnhardt Jr. They're going to make a wedge adjustment and get him back out. He's underway. 4 tires and fuel, Marty.
Ralph, look who's pitting at the end of a pit sequence. Kevin Harvick, he said the car, very good. I just can't lay the throttle down like I would like. So it's a little bit tight on exit for Kevin Harvick. They make an air pressure adjustment to loosen him up. And again, waiting about 2 beats on that fuel to make sure it's full, Adam.
His teammate Clint Boyer also making a pit stop here at lap 142. Mark Martin up to 9th. He is yet to make a pit stop in this cycle. And now the race leader is in. Kyle Busch giving up the top spot to make his stop. Ralph?
He's been pretty quiet on the radio. Things have been pretty smooth. They're just going to take off a tear off on the windshield. They're putting 4 tires on it, fueling him up, and sending him back out. He's been very quiet on the radio today, making sure they get all the fuel, and away he goes.
Kyle Busch back in the game. After starting this day back in the 34th position, he's inside the top 10 now that he has made his stop. And as he exits pit road, that will put older brother Kurt back in the race lead. Jeff Gordon, Denny Hamlin, Juan Montoya, Jimmy Johnson, the top 5 at Pocono.
Welcome back to Pocono Raceway. Kurt Busch currently your leader, 146 laps in. He has led 27 laps. Hey, TNT Tuesday, get back to the beat with summer's coolest cop. Don't miss the season premiere of Memphis Beat Tuesday at 9/8 Central only on TNT. By the way, it was Jason Lee who stars as the detective who did today's race announcement at the beginning of this race. We have a special guest here, Carl Edwards. It's much better, obviously, if we can talk to you after a race win. However, currently you're out of this race right now. Tell us what actually happened.
Well, we're off right now.
Right.
We're not out.
You're still trying. I know.
Trust me, I would much rather be up driving that 99 car. But we brought I brought part of the valve here, the head of the valve that. I don't know if you got this on camera yet, but it's not a failure based on the way it was built. There was some sort of part that failed here in the valve, and I don't know if you can see that, but we wish we were out there racing. My guys have been doing a great job. We have a points lead still by 7 points, but I thought I'd come up here and talk to you guys a little bit about what's going on the racetrack, because there's a lot of shifting. The cars are getting looser. It's really tough out there.
I couldn't help but think when we heard this, Carl, and I actually did a piece out at our cutaway engine after you went into the garage area.
We heard you and Bob Osborne before the race talking about to shift or not to shift.
Yep.
Either way, it's a lot of RPM on these long straightaways.
It's a lot of RPM. And, we're watching Kurt Busch lead the race here. His car has really come around. I don't think when I was racing him earlier, I don't think he was shifting as much as some of the other guys. I know I was watching the broadcast and we saw Tony Stewart shifting, 6 times each lap, down into third, back to fourth, down to third, back to fourth. And his transmission, I think, gave up. It's tough as a driver. You want to go out there and get every last bit of speed you can. But when you're sitting there in the car, every time you put that thing into third gear, you're taking a risk of breaking something.
And Carl, with this new point system, every position is 1 point. You come in here as the points leader, about 40 points, and you talked about you're not out yet.
Right.
I went over to the garage area myself and looked like about 12 Roush Fenway mechanics, Roush Yates engine mechanics, the cat in the hat, Jack Roush, right in the middle. And he told me, he said, we're going to pull the cylinder head off this thing. If we can get Carl back out there, we've got a lot of time on the scoreboard.
That's how they got this piece out, by working down there. So the guys are working hard. But yeah, I think watching the broadcast here, I've had a little bit of time to watch it. It looks like Denny is still the car to beat to me. I think Kurt's coming around, but the way that track is, the sun's coming out, it's going to be an interesting race. I think one more stop, like you said, and then hopefully Jimmy stays back there where he's at so we can still come out here with the points lead.
So how much pressure do you feel with that, leading the points right now, but know how competitive everybody is, especially at this point halfway to the chase?
There is a lot of pressure, and I think what we're seeing here is we watch Kurt lead. I mean, that car and that team, they've turned things around. Anything can happen with 13 races to go before the chase. So, yeah, we came in here with a 40-point lead. It looks like we're going to leave with maybe a 5-point lead, and that's how quick things can change. So this year is a lot like this race. Anything can happen.
You brought up Kurt. Is that something the guys in the garage are looking at, the resurgence of Penske? Because obviously we've seen them have a lot of success over the past 3 races, whether it's poles or wins, what have you.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And I think Brad said it best last week that they had them covered last week. They had the fast car in the 22, and they had the fuel mileage with the 2 cars. So, we came here to Pocono. We knew they'd be tough on both ends. And, still this race hasn't played out with fuel mileage. But right now it looks like Kurt and Denny are the guys to beat.
And just remember, halfway to the chase, even with that 40-point lead in 13 races, all the guys in the chase will be even except for those bonus points for the win.
Yes, and that's why everybody's out here racing so hard. You've got guys that know they're in the chase. They're racing for wins. That's what we were doing today, and we were running well, but doesn't look like it was meant to be for us, but it's still going to be an exciting race, and I'm going to stick around and watch it.
All right, but Carl, you said you're not totally out of it yet, so there's still hope.
He's off.
Thanks for reminding me. Yes, we'll get back out there. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Here we go. More racing here at Pocono Raceway when you come back.
Kurt Busch with a 2.4-second lead over Jeff Gordon at Pocono, and time now for another AT&T Fastest Pit Crew update. And let's take a look at the teams that have spent the least amount of time on pit road today. You see Juan Pablo Montoya, Clint Boyer, and there is the race leader, Kurt Busch, just over 3 minutes today. Who do you think will win the Fastest Pit Crew this week? Well, AT&T customers can text their vote to 234-567. It's that easy from your AT&T phone. And if you would like to know who won the Fastest Pit Crew competition today, all you have to do is text in and you will get the results from AT&T. It is the AT&T Fastest Pit Crew.
Montoya's leading this thing for the pit crew thing, but I'm not sure, and Wally and I both said the same thing, I'm not sure I totally agree with Brian Patty with that 2-tire stop to change for track position. But he's sitting on that pit box. I'm not sitting on that pit box. But I'm going to say this. I totally agree with him holding that car an extra couple of seconds on pit road to make sure that thing was totally packed full of fuel this time. Because if the race plays out, he's going to need that extra little bit.
See Denny Hamlin here. He is third, led 76 laps today, Marty.
And Adam, Denny is a 4-time Pocono winner. We've seen him win races here many different ways. Seen him dominate races. We've seen him go back in the field, caution on the track right now. So we've seen him win a bunch of different ways. But as we approach what could be some of the final stops of the day, Denny getting a little bit worried, Adam.
So we have got...
Mike, did be thinking about taking a big swing at this. We haven't touched it all day.
Yeah, 10-4 to get some of the front air back in it to get it back off that splitter.
Fourth caution of the day.
Tell you what, I was just watching the lap before that. There was a heck of a race going down for the lucky dog. And I think Mark got it, but there are all those guys. Did Mark get it?
The 5, yes.
They were all packed up, man. They were.
It's big for Mark Martin, who was 23rd when the caution came out, and now he will be back on the lead lap and in the game. 45 laps to go. We'll get pit stops, and no doubt now everyone pits here, and if it stays green, you know they can do it on one more stop from this stage. After they pit under caution, I should point out. The race leader under caution, Kurt Busch. He's led 36 laps today. 4 cautions this afternoon, each one for debris on the racetrack, including this one, with just under 50 laps to go. Jeff Gordon right behind Kurt Busch in second. Hamlin, Montoya, Johnson, the top 5.
And you want to get your setup right here, because the next pit stop you make, you may not have enough time to be messing around as far as changing the setup on the car.
Yes.
So it's really important right now to make a big swing on this thing if it's not working, because this is really your last shot if it goes green the rest of the way.
We will get the pit stops here. Lap 156, Ralph.
Here comes Kyle Busch down pit lane. He says the car's a little too loose off. It's not fantastic, not too bad, and a little free up and off. They're going to put 4 tires of fuel in. He comes sliding into a stop, and he's good to go, Matt. 4 tires of fuel.
Jeff Gordon felt like the racetrack changed the most that last run for him than it has all day. Air pressure changed, the car way too free. To Marty.
Matt, here comes a big swing at the bottom of your screen for Denny Hamlin. A pound in the right rear, pound in the front, both front tires to get that splitter off the ground. Also a round and a quarter in the left rear of the wedge, trying to get that car to loosen up, still tight. Top of your screen, Kurt Busch. All they're going to do is a 2/10 of an air in the left rear for Kurt Busch. He loses a ton of spots on pit road. And once again, Juan Montoya is your winner on pit road, Adam.
And the reason why, Marty, once again, 2 tires. Montoya wins the battle off pit road. Jeff
he knows
Gordon
more than me. That's all I know.
him. We'll get the field set when we return, including Dale Earnhardt Jr., who had a pit stop problem.
Trouble for Denny Hamlin, left rear flat. I'm surprised that thing didn't come off and it just tear the fender. He got very lucky. He made it back to pit lane because he came across the start-finish line with it flat. Going to lose a lot of track position, but they're going to get it fixed.
And Tony Stewart had not made a pit stop under this caution. He's in now, Larry.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the reason he did this, guys, remember, he only has high gear. He does not have 3rd gear. And on a restart, you would absolutely get run over. So he stayed out. They get the 1 to go. He comes to pit road. He'll be at the back of the field, quite honestly, where he needs to be without 3rd gear.
But how big of a split is it now? Because the gears are tight anyway, Larry. How big is the split between 2nd and 4th?
I think the split between 2nd and 4th isn't as big because 3rd gear is so tall in these cars, but still, you don't want to be out there. Tony's the kind of guy, he doesn't want to get in anybody's way either, but I think the big development there is Denny. I'd like to see if he's able to come back through the field. He's got a full fuel run, and I feel like from following him, he wasn't going 100%. When I saw him early in the race, he was holding back a little bit, so we're going to see how fast that 11 car is now.
Yeah, he'll have to go 100% now because he's going to restart 21st.
Oh, my God. I thought that was a great impersonation of Carl Edwards going on there by Larry McReynolds.
Hey, Larry.
I didn't get that for a minute. Oh, my God, Larry, you had me for a minute.
Hey, Larry, ask Carl what he's doing next week. He's pretty good at this, you know?
I will be in the Aflac Ford Fusion at Michigan. I will not be in the booth.
I just want you to know this TV work is some hard stuff.
I can see how tough it is. Yeah, I really feel for you guys.
What about the 2-tire stop for Montoya, Carl?
I think the reason he stopped is not because Brian Patty thought, hey, I'm going to get a big advantage here. I think he was worried that other people saw what they did early. They were going to take 2, and then he was going to be way back. So I think he did it again. But he's still the only guy up there getting 2 tires, and I don't know if it's going to pay off in the long run.
And clean air. You have fallen victim a lot to that.
Yeah, clean air is huge. Montoya will probably get another great start like he did before, and if he's got the clean air, he might have something for him.
Jeff Gordon with him on the front row. We get the restart with 41 to go.
Yeah, but then he's got to turn. I think the guys with the 4 tires are going to be better off when he gets to the corner.
Kurt Busch, Jimmy Johnson right behind. Denny Hamlin on this restart in the 20th position after that tire issue, and there goes Gordon to the inside for the lead.
And Jimmy Johnson's right there, pushing him down on the low side, and those two guys are going to smoke through and take the spot away.
It worked for Jeff Gordon. Jimmy Johnson trying to do the same, and Kurt Busch lines up in that inside lane.
3 wide, here we go.
Spread them out and let them race. Kurt Busch on the bottom lane, going to go to second in the running order.
Kyle Busch in the 18 car making some ground down there on the bottom. Boy, 24 set sail.
Talked about the situation for Tony Stewart. He is now 25th on the scoreboard. What's the latest on the 11, Marty?
Well, Adam, we found the problem for Denny Hamlin. This is the left rear tire that came off, and if you'll notice, there is no valve stem here. All the air leaked out of the tire. They have no idea how the valve stem came off, but it definitely came off when the 11 team put it on.
Yeah, I guess if anything good out of it, they did it. It happened before they went back green.
And it happened on a yellow pit stop. Look at these guys right at the
3
tunnel.
wide for third. That's Kyle Busch to the inside of Montoya.
Remember all that, give and taken?
Yeah, it's gone.
We're not there anymore.
We're within 40. We're within 40 to go. Yeah. But here they're still 3 wide, going into turn 3.
Yeah, Kevin Harvick started 32nd. It's his time of the race. He's back in the top 10 and trying to get around Ryan Newman here. This would put him 6th.
Johnson's lost a lot of spots, and a lot of that has to do with it. He seems to keep finding himself in the center. Uh-oh, we got somebody smoking down there. Is that of the 11
like
car?
Hamlin.
Denny Hamlin's got smoke coming out the back.
Oh. And it's that left rear tire again. Hamlin dominated the first half of this race, leading 76 laps.
And he had to have been hit in the left rear corner to knock the valve stem out and to still have a rub.
Yeah, probably a pit lane.
And to still have a rub, because obviously they didn't anticipate the rub.
What's the latest, Marty?
Adam, there is damage on the left rear. Also, that Mike Ford told him keep going. There is some rubber wrapped around the housing. They think part of that is burn off from that rubber burning off, but there also obviously is a rub as well, guys.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Yeah, now the quarter panel's gone.
There's a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah,
something definitely contact-wise there somewhere.
Yeah, now the lower quarter panel's gone, and it could be exactly like Mike said. There could be rubber as you blow one of these things or they come apart. It wraps around the housing itself. Lucky sometimes they don't bust a brake line or pull a brake line off.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. riding 12th in this race. He was in the top 10 most of the afternoon.
And just watching the 11 cars, normally when you don't have that fender down, it loosens up the car. He's lost downforce on the car because of that damage, so he's not going to have as good enough car as he had earlier.
And Larry can always speak better to these things than I can, and I will say that. We talk so much about dirty air. We talk so much about downforce. We talk so much about aero push and aero loose and things like that. We're talking about air going not only over the car, but under the car. The air that comes and escapes from the side panels, the air that's vented out from under the car. And when you get that left rear beat in like that, it totally changes the airflow around the car.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. going over the line in his pit stall in that last cycle. That's why he's outside the top 10. At the front, his teammate, Jeff Gordon. Jeff Gordon leads Kurt Busch, and there we got problems. Greg Biffle, who was back close to the top 10, spinning off the turn 3. All
right.
And he hits
Stay right there, try to get it going.
No caution. No caution on the track.
No caution.
He's going to need some rubber, that's for sure.
Come on down.
There's nothing left on those 4 tires.
4 tires.
34 laps to go. That will put you squarely behind the 8 ball.
Well, if you're going to spin, that's a really good place to do it.
Perfect place. And he spun far enough off the racetrack. As you watch this, he spins far enough off the racetrack, and this racetrack is so wide, as you see coming up out of turn 4.
Right here when he spun?
Yeah.
I think that Greg Irwin's like, pit. No, I'm sure he wasn't.
No. But as he buzzed the tires and that thing come around, I mean, perfect place, just as you said. Because now, even though he did lose a lot of time, he's still hauling the mail here like it's a green flag stop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And because he passed the cone and because of the stuff, he circles around, he comes on in, can change his tires. Now this is early, way early in the run, but at the same time, it's not going to kill him.
The View riding with Dale Jr.
Come on. Keep coming there. No caution. Keep coming.
Yeah, with 33 laps to go, he's outside the window to be able to go the distance, which kills him too.
Yeah, that's going to kill him on that part. But, you know, if they catch another caution, he's okay. But at this point in time, he's basically taking him out of a one-stop race, so now he's a two-stop race.
Right. Started 37th, had an issue on pit road fueling the car, lost a ton of track position there, had worked his way up to 12th, and then that spin you just saw. Jeff Gordon leads, Kurt Busch 0.8 of a second behind and closing in. There you see the 24, the 22 right behind. Then it's the younger Busch brother, Kyle, in third. Montoya, who has led 38 laps today, in fourth. NASCAR fans voted at sprint.com/speed on the driver they wanted to go in car with today, and it would be one Dale Earnhardt Jr. Listen in. That's a downshift. The Evo Cam taking you on board with Dale Earnhardt Jr. Fuel your inner NASCAR fan with live in-car audio and real-time stats. Available on NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile and the HTC Evo 4G. Only from Sprint at sprint.com/speed. Jeff Gordon leading with 31 laps to go at Pocono. 28 laps to go at Pocono. Things starting to get interesting. Seeing some green flag pit stops. Tony Stewart came down pit lane. 29 laps to go when he made a green flag pit stop. And here comes Montoya 1 lap later, Marty.
A little bit early for the stop for Juan Montoya, but this is in the window, so they can make it all the way. I did talk to Brian Patty. It will be 4 tires this time for this 42 team. They have done 2 tires 3 times today, 3 separate times trying to get track position. This 4-tire stop, very minimal changes, a little bit loose on the end, and wanting to wait until they can very end get all the fuel in, guys.
If I'm Montoya, there's one thing I don't want to see, and that's a green-white checker finish, Larry.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I think we'll see more drivers hit pit road. Even though with the load of fuel they would have after pitting on lap 156, they could go to close to lap 180. But when you're up in the top 6 or 8 drivers on a lap here, you can make a green flag pit stop and stay on the lead lap. I think the reason drivers like Montoya and Stewart, they want to get advantage of those fresh tires, but also with them having enough fuel to go to the end, if we get a caution, they're going to stay out, Carl, and they'll have that track position. I think we're going to see more of them hit pit road here in the next few laps.
And right now, Montoya is, I guarantee he's screaming, are you sure we're doing the right thing? Are you sure we're doing the right thing? And Brian Patty's, I believe he's doing the right thing. If you look at how these races have finished lately, it's come down to pit strategy, fuel mileage, and if they do get a caution, they're going to look like geniuses. They're going to be leading the race if they get this caution here in the next few laps. Otherwise, you know, the other good thing you got to think of is when you have those fresh tires, you're not in a pack of cars, you can take advantage of it. You can run a half a second a lap faster than these guys and put some distance on them when they have to stop.
And Adam, the trends or the averages say here at Pocono that we normally get a caution as we see Kevin Harvick hit pit road somewhere with about 15 or 20 laps to go. That's the trends or averages over the last 5 June Pocono races.
I think if it does stay green, though, it's going to come down to those 2 guys right there who can get in and out, not just a pit stop, but get into their pit and back up to speed quick. Marty.
And Wally, Larry Mack's exactly right. Juan Montoya and his team forcing everybody's hand a little bit here. Kevin Harvick, 4 tires, and no changes on this stop, pitting a little bit early, Chris.
Pagano with a nice run. He started back at 19th, up to the top 10 right now. This team has done a 28-lap run today, so 26 laps, it shouldn't be a problem.
Talked about Montoya and Stewart making pit stops with just under 30 laps to go. It's been a good day for Paul Menard. He came down with 27 laps remaining, giving up 10th in the running order to get his service. Everyone continues to chase Jeff Gordon. He's got a 1.3-second lead over second place Kurt Busch. Kyle Busch is third, and the man running fourth, Jimmy Johnson, but not anymore. He's making a pit stop, and his teammate in as well, Ralph with the 88.
Caleb Hurd is the guy to focus on. That's the gas man. It's all about him. They'll make some minor changes to the car to put tires on it, but it's all about the fuel, and Caleb Hurd doing his job now.
Chassis adjustment for the 40 to Jimmy Johnson. He wanted to leave the car alone on the previous stop. Slight change here for the run to the finish.
And guys, Denny Hamlin had to come into a stall very slow. He now has no brakes. Clearly the brake line for the left rear has been pulled. He's telling everybody on the racetrack around him, I have no brakes, but he's still doing an excellent job out there with no brakes. Pretty nice job, Denny Hamlin back on the track. Ralph?
Now the pressure falls squarely on the shoulders of gasman Tom Lampy to get the fuel in the car for the 18 of Kyle Busch. Tires going on, no problems there. Here goes the fuel, Matt. He's going to be underway.
And what a great day this has been for Matt Kenseth. Solid run so far. He hit pit road in the 4th position. Slight air pressure change to help on rear grip. They are good to go to the finish as well. Their teammate Greg Biffle, 3 gallons short. He can't make it. Newman can make it from here. Gordon's guys are up on the wall. Marty.
Matt Martin Truex Jr. has raced his way into the top 10. An impressive run for him today. He said the car is snappy loose at the end of that last run. They did a wedge adjustment, trying to tighten it up. Our leader, Kurt Busch, will be hitting pit road this time, Matt.
And the biggest issue for Jeff Gordon this last run was turn 1. He said the car just took off. Gordon on his way down pit road. What a day they have had. Been running top 3 most of the day. Easy into his pit box. They'll top him off with fuel. Slight chassis adjustments as well. A win today, Marty, would help possibly lock him into a spot in the chase for that wild card.
And the man chasing him for that win is Kurt Busch. He said his car very good. Long debate between he and Steve Addington as to when to pit. They could have stayed out about 5 more laps, but again, everyone's hand was forced by the 42 pitting a little bit early. It'll be no changes in 4 tires for Kurt Busch. He will lose a little bit of ground here on pit road to Jeff Gordon, though.
Mentioned Regan Smith earlier in this race. Hadn't talked about him in a while. He has enjoyed a very nice afternoon. He made a pit stop from inside the top 10, and as things cycle through, an interesting front duo. Landon Castle
raining all over the place. Raining.
Is scheduled as the race leader. And Brad Keselowski currently 2nd in the running order.
Let's go back to the 11 car to Denny Hamlin in their pit. When he says he has no brakes, he doesn't have 100% of his brakes.
Right.
Those are dual systems. It's a different master cylinder for the front than it is for the rear. What we saw, I think, when we saw that smoke was maybe not so much something wrapped around the rear end housing as just blowing the fluid out the rotors and out the caliper, because it smoked out the left rear, and then it ended. He had enough brakes to get down pit road, get into his pit stop safely, and leave. What he's telling people is, I just can't go off in the corner as hard, and I can't race around you because I only have partial brakes.
Landon Castle last pitted at lap 156. He will have to come again. Perhaps it will happen while we're away. We'll reset when we come back on TNT. Back at Pocono, Jeff Gordon back to the front, driving to the inside of Landon Castle. Castle still has to make a pit stop. Gordon does not. 19 laps to go here at Pocono. Next Sunday, NASCAR on TNT heads to Michigan. Coverage begins at 12 p.m. Eastern Time with Countdown to Green delivered by Pizza Hut, followed by NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing from Michigan. We look forward to seeing you next Sunday afternoon. And we're sorry to tell you Carl Edwards will not be a part of our broadcast team next week. But, Carl, we do thank you for joining us after your early issues today.
Hey, thank you guys for having me. And I got to see a different side of the broadcast. Well,
you're not impressed, are you, Carl?
No, I appreciate Kellogg's Aflac Ford for having me on board. I'm going to hop in the Cessna. I'm going to take my little piece of my intake valve and go home.
At least you have a souvenir, and we look forward to seeing you on track next week at Michigan.
All right, guys, I'm going to go watch the rest of the race outside. Thank you, guys.
See you, man.
Carl Edwards taking some time out to be with us today, and certainly some terrific insight from a man who spent the first part of this race on track here at Pocono.
And that's cool. I don't care where you are. I mean, you don't go to an NFL game and see a guy go from the field up to the booth and talk about it. Carl was talking about racing with the 22 car. He was talking about racing with the 11 car. He was just out there a couple hours ago and knew exactly what their cars were doing, or felt like he did, and knew who was going to be the guy to beat. That's pretty interesting stuff.
So get a report on Ryan Newman, who's been in the top 10 most of the day, Matt.
Adam, about 30 laps ago, Matt Borland, the new VP of competition at Stewart Haas Racing, went down to the 39 pit and told Tony Gibson that he'd been back in the garage and that McMurray had had a problem with his transmission, the third gear they had lost. They were running the same transmission in the 39. They wanted Ryan to be aware of it. On lap 179, Ryan reported in, it's grinding up third gear right now. We've lost third gear. He's right now in the 11th position trying to hold on.
And that's kind of the same thing that Tony said. You know, thanks for letting me shift this much, but I've already torn third gear out of it. So here's the two. And look, as a driver, and you know this, you felt okay about it. You don't like it, but you felt okay when your teammate broke the same thing because it doesn't make you look like you're just jamming the thing in gears. You know what I mean? But there's the same team, and obviously there's other guys out here who are running that same combination. Maybe not the same transmission, but the same combination of ratios.
And getting away with it.
Yes.
Jeff Gordon's led more laps than anyone here at Pocono Raceway over the years, and he's padding that stat today. Kurt Busch started on the pole, second consecutive week, finished 9th last week at Kansas after leading the most laps, and he's been solid throughout the afternoon today, currently the runner-up. Kyle Busch started on the pole last year here and finished second, his best ever Pocono finish. He didn't qualify well here yesterday, started 34th, but driver 18 has a nose for the front. He is third right now with 16 laps to go. Landon Castle is not pitted yet, and he will have to come to pit road likely in the next couple of laps, but after starting 25th, leading some laps and being in the top 5, got to feel good for this young kid.
Sure, man, doing a good job. He's getting a lot of experience out there. The car's clean. Good day at Pocono.
Juan Pablo Montoya, looking for his first Pocono win, has led 38 laps today, been very good. And Jimmy Johnson had an issue on pit road early, but for the most part, this team has been very competitive. The 5-time defending champion scored 6th with 15 laps left.
Jimmy Johnson's been there, just can't get around him.
Just cannot get around him.
We get down to the closing laps when we return. More NASCAR on TNT after a break. 12 laps remaining in the 5-hour Energy 500 at Pocono Raceway. We're glad you're with us for NASCAR on TNT. Jeff Gordon, the race leader.
Jeff's car looks really, really good. It looks a little bit loose, especially in turn 3. I've seen the car get loose quite a bit. But you know what? Unless he gets in a bunch of traffic, he's in good shape.
Good battle for 5th here. Kevin Harvick. Talk about a rally. He's had several adversities today, and here he goes for another top 5.
And Johnson did get around Montoya finally.
And finally got around him and just drove away from him. But we were talking about Harvick this morning in our meeting, and it's like, here's a guy that qualifies 30th plus, and somewhere in the last 10% of the race finds himself in a position to win. They've won races this year because of Gill's calls and Harvick's driving, and that team putting themselves in position.
And not only did he start 32nd today, early in this race they had a fueling issue which put him even further behind the 8 ball.
And he ain't by him yet. Montoya is one of the hardest guys on the racetrack to pass.
And there's Junior lurking in the mirror right there behind him. He's run him down as they're doing this. And this shows how slow you get when you start racing side by side. You can't go through these corners and pick up the throttle if you're on the inside and drive like you want to.
And there goes Harvick to grab 5th. And Dale Jr., who didn't qualify great yesterday and also had some problems on pit road, trying to get 6th away.
And his car looked really good there, man. He set those guys up. That pass was made on the previous straightaway.
Yeah.
He set those guys up, knowing what they were going to do when they got there. That was a smart move. That was a really good move.
Harvick and Jr., a perfect example right here of running good at a track where you don't necessarily have a great resume.
Yeah,
you got to do it.
Yeah, in the past, if you look at their records here, they've not been good. To be in the chase and to have a shot at the championship. And once again, here's Junior in the top 5 or 6, hammering it out, doing it week in and week out. And that's not what we've seen from him before over the last couple of years. So, you know, we've talked about it before. He's the real deal. He's back in position where they're going to win races. Hopefully they do during our run here, but they're going to win some races.
And the thing about Junior today, their car hasn't been that good. I mean, it's been loose all day long, but Junior stayed pretty much on top of it.
Yeah.
Hasn't given up, and they have made the adjustments, but that car still looks loose to me. but he's going forward.
Yeah, we even had some radio earlier where he was talking to Stevie, and he said, okay, if it's going to be loose, I'm just going to have to drive it. Just tell me if that's where it's going to be, but let's keep working at it.
Greg Biffle comes in for a pit stop with 9 laps to go.
And there's 2 or 3 guys. You see Biffle, and here's the 29 and 88 again. See Biffle come down pit road, saw the 2 car of Keselowski. Those guys had pitted and were just daring them to throw a caution. They wanted a caution. They would have had track position and been in a place where they could have pitted just for fuel.
What are they saying about Harvick's car, Marty?
Well, you can add also that list. Remember, they had the debris on the grill earlier. They got a puncture from a piece of steel that went to the grill but didn't go through the radiator. So it's been one of those days for Harvick. You know, you look at the whole year, this is how they performed. Into the race, guess who's always there in the top 5? Kevin Harvick. Ralph?
You know, Marty, as you watch Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s car right now, it's dancing around a little bit. He's fighting for the traction. But Kyle, to go with what you guys are saying about Jr., in talking to Steve Letarte this morning, he said, you know, we've got speed in the race car, and that's everything. Once you've got speed, we can work on the rest of it. We'll get our communication right with Jr. We'll figure out what makes him comfortable. The fact is, we've got good race cars. We'll dial in the rest. And you can see that here in the last few weeks. They're quick.
And the thing that's important, Ralph, is you've got to unload in the ballpark. If you show up at these racetracks and your car's out to lunch after the first practice, you're never going to make up that much ground. These guys are coming to the racetrack with better race cars, period. And that helps tremendously, because then you can tune the car when you're at that point.
I've heard the Dale Jr. naysayers the last couple of weeks saying he's done it on fuel mileage. It's no big deal. You don't close your eyes and get to 3rd in points in this series over the course of 13 weeks without having something to say about being good on track.
Exactly. And I'll tell you, you want to throw in fuel mileage, and Kyle and I were talking about this under the break. I think we're going to have some people running out of gas yet, because some of these guys are asking to get 27, 28, 29 laps out of their cars based on their pit stops, and I haven't seen many cars that have gone that long.
And we just haven't seen that. Now, we don't know that they've not, every time they've stopped at 25 or 24, had a little extra fuel in there, and they may have.
But some of those guys ran out.
But some of those guys have run out, and if we just go by what they've done so far today, it's going to be really hard.
Some of these guys did pit pretty close to that window, Larry.
Yeah, I honestly believe they would not have pitted when they pitted if they didn't think they could make it. Honestly, I think other than maybe like Jeff Burton that we saw run out of fuel earlier, I think these guys were playing it safe 1 or 2 laps. I truly believe about all of our drivers at the front of this pack, unless we have a green-white checkered for some reason, I think they can make it, or they would not have pitted when they did, because they definitely short-pitted that last trip to pit road.
And that makes sense, you know, because when you do run out of gas here, and we saw it with Jeff Burton, that's an excellent analysis of it by Larry, because if you do run out of gas here, like we saw with Jeff Burton, you have to coast so long, and it's a flat racetrack. And think about how slow he was down that short chute through turn 3 on the access road to get back. So they probably did give themselves a lap or 2, and if we go by that, then they're probably all in the wheelhouse and all looking safe.
The one, when you look at the numbers,
yeah, we'll know. Yeah, we'll know.
When you look at the numbers inside the top 10, the one that you would maybe put a question mark by would be Juan Pablo Montoya. He pitted at lap 172, so that would mean 28 laps on a load of fuel. Everyone else in the top 10 pitted with 26 laps to go or less. The 26, to me, based on what we've seen, much more comfortable than 28, especially if, like Larry said, we get a green-white checker. Jeff Gordon crosses the stripe. 5 laps remaining at Pocono. His advantage over second-place Kurt Busch, 2.6 seconds.
And he's running good lap times, and I think this is where, like I said earlier, Jeff wants to be. As long as he doesn't hit a bunch of traffic, I don't think Kurt can get him.
No, I don't think. Yeah, he's going to have to have a slide for life and check up and have to go again or something like that. But they've pretty much maintained this 2.2 to 2.7, 2.8. It really just depends how they get through. Kurt's not really coming like he was for the first few laps after this last pit stop.
You know, early this season, Jeff Gordon able to grab that victory at Phoenix.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people said, wow, this team came to play, new crew chief and Alan Gustafson. And then they kind of had a little bit of a fall off in a 5 or 6 race period. But you know what? They were in the top 5 last week at Kansas. They felt good about themselves. And I think that's really shot some confidence into this team.
Yeah, but you know, last year they started the season strong. And I think Jimmy Johnson won a couple of those races they probably should have won. And you look at it, but you know, these guys, if he can close the deal here, as you look at the 42 and the 17 race here for position, if he can close the deal here, and this will be 2 wins, and that almost assures him of the 11th and 12th spot. He's not in the top 10 in points, so this would be a big boost and a big weight off their shoulders at this time in the season.
You see Montoya, as Kyle alluded to, he's running 7th. Behind him, Matt Kenseth in 8th. Greg Biffle in the screen, but he's not on the lead lap, so he's not competing for position there.
Okay, and just for all you Carl Edwards fans, he is, according to the scoring monitor here, he is back in the race. He was going to get on the Cessna and take his little valve and go home, but he decided not to, I guess.
Cat in the Hat said,
no, give me 4 laps.
Yeah, give me 4 laps.
And probably part of that is just to see if we can fix it, and if we could do this if we got in another race like this. Can we take a head off? Can we put a valve in? Can we go back out and make this thing run?
Less than 3 laps remaining at Pocono. Jeff Gordon came by the start-finish line last time. His lead 2.5 seconds over Kurt Busch. Kyle Busch in 3rd. Jimmy Johnson, Kevin Harvick complete the top 5. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is 6th, and right here we continue to watch the battle for 7th. Montoya has that spot, and Matt Kenseth, who today started this race 27th, trying to take it away from him. Denny Hamlin 19th, still on the lead lap. He's led more laps than anyone today, 76, but he had a couple of issues about 40 laps ago that have taken him out of contention.
I don't think Matt's going to pass him getting off the corner, because he doesn't have much grip getting off the corner.
Out in front of him, Jeff Gordon just went across the start-finish line. 2 laps remaining.
I mean, 17's looking for any grip he can, but he's just really, really loose getting off the corner.
Talk about Jeff Gordon and ensuring himself a spot in the chase via the wild card. He was 13th entering today, and 11th is where he is in the standings as we run, so he may not even need the wild card in these victories. If he continues to perform like this, he will be inside the top 10 and locked in automatically. Gordon across turn 3, and he will see the white flag when he comes down the 3,700-foot straightaway here at Pocono.
All right, man. Here it is. White flag.
Fans already cheering Jeff Gordon. And the resume for this guy, incredible when it comes to the Sprint Cup Series. Today would be his 84th career win.
Puts him in some pretty good company right there, doesn't it?
It does. How about Darrell Waltrip and Bobby Allison for 3rd on the all-time list?
It's amazing.
Jeff Gordon not worried about the history books. He's worried about another championship. And today, taking a huge step in the right direction. Get out the checkered flag and display it for Jeff Gordon. His 5th career win here at Pocono coming this afternoon.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. Numbers here, bud. Let's get him. Nice one, boys. You're the best. Awesome, awesome, awesome day. On that one in the pits, man. Way to go.
Jeff Gordon getting the victory. He thanks his pit crew, and now the boys able to celebrate themselves. Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch, Jimmy Johnson, Kevin Harvick make up the top 5. Dale Earnhardt Jr. hangs on to 6th. Montoya able to keep the 7th position in front of Matt Kenseth, Ryan Newman, and Martin Truex Jr. rounding out the top 10. I told you Carl Edwards was back on track. He does come across the start-finish line. 37th is where he finished, 141 laps down. And now he can go get on the Cessna and fly home.
Yes.
Jeff Gordon, he needs to go to victory lane because it's time to celebrate. He's got his 2nd win of the year, It's his 5th here at Pocono, tying Bill Elliott for most all-time. We celebrate with him next. NASCAR on TNT, back at the Pocono Raceway. You know, this morning we had fog here. You couldn't see around this racetrack. The only visual impairment after the race, the smoke from Jeff Gordon's victorious burnout. It never gets old when you win at this level. And if you don't believe me, just watch the 4-time champion celebrate his 2nd win of the year. Gordon has found his way to victory lane, and so is Marty Snyder.
And we'll let him climb out and have the celebratory moment. Jeff Gordon, an impressive and very quiet run to the front for Jeff Gordon today. And he says, bring it on. Bring on all the liquid you can throw at me. Gets a hug and a kiss from his daughter, Ella. Jeff, a top 5 last week at Kansas. You better get your eyes cleared out there. It's been a long time since you've had beer in your eyes, huh? Top 5 at Kansas, win this week. What's changed in the last 2 weeks?
Oh, my goodness. Just, you know, a lot of hard work, you know, has gone into this. I mean, we were embarrassed by the way we were running. And when I came, you know, on board with Alan and his group, I knew that they were special and amazing. And you know, Phoenix came a little sooner than we thought, but, you know, I felt like we could do that this year. And then we went on a streak where we just weren't competitive. And you know what it takes is a team that believes in you and that you believe in them, and you work together to get there. And that's what we did today. You know, we just never gave up. Awesome race car, awesome pit stops. Got to thank DuPont, AARP, and Drive to End Hunger, Pepsi. Of course, the fans. I mean, the fans are just amazing here. And welcome, TNT. This is a great way to get it started.
We're good to kick it off. Glad to kick it off with you. 2 wins now. Do you feel like you're locked in the chase?
No, you know, there's too much racing left to go. You got guys like Hamlin that are really strong, and a bunch of other ones, you know, that can ease up. Biffle, you know, there's guys that can win multiple races. But
you feel better about it, though, right?
I feel a lot better about it. That's for darn sure. And man, I'm just so excited to be a part of this sport. I mean, I'm gonna be 40 this year, and
old man now, Jeff.
And you know, to have Ella and say hi to Leo at home, and my wife Inger. This is just an amazing experience to experience this with my family. I just hadn't had a chance to do that. Even when I won at Phoenix, you know, they were missing. The kids were missing anyway. So this is awesome. And thanks Sprint for everything they do too.
You know, the only problem with this, real quick, you drove here this week. You got to drive for the rest of the year now to the racetrack.
Well, I always drive to Pocono. I enjoy that, and if I could drive to more tracks, you know, if they're close enough, I would. I drive to Martinsville, and you know what? I love that little 2-hour drive. If I can make it happen, whether I'm in New York or Charlotte, and it's very relaxing. And you know what? The most relaxing thing was having a race car like that with these guys behind me. That was awesome. Congrats to Alan, and say hi to Rick too. I know he's at home watching. This is awesome. Thank you.
Very happy, Jeff Gordon in victory lane, as you can tell, Adam.
Marty, the relaxing drive of the weekend on his way to the track. The most enjoyable drive, the one he just made into victory lane. Gordon gets it today at Pocono. Many more interviews when we come back on TNT. Jeff Gordon continuing to celebrate in victory lane. He's a winner today at Pocono. Here are those that finished behind him. Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch, 2nd and 3rd. Johnson, Harvick round out the top 5. Good top 10s today for Dale Jr., Ryan Newman, Martin Truex Jr. also getting there.
How about Newman finishing 9th, and we went to commercial showing him smoking one time, and still hangs in there and finishes.
Menard ended up 14th. Regan Smith in the top 15 again. Greg Biffle ended up 27th, had that spin late, one of many issues for him. Ambrose had problems. 34th is where he was in the final tally. There you see the point leader, Carl Edwards, in 37th. Let's hear from the runner-up, Kurt Busch, with Chris Neville.
Well, from California to Dover, it was tough times for Kurt Busch, only one top 10. But Kurt, it looks like you guys have really turned the team around.
It's great to run this good with the Shell Pennzoil Dodge. You know, congratulations to Jeff Gordon. The old Golden Boy had it in him today. He ran strong and ran good, and we gave it everything we had with our Dodge. And it's all about teamwork when you got to work from the back up.
Congrats on the 2nd place.
Thanks a lot.
Kyle Busch with an outstanding third-place run here today. Coming into this race, you did a lot of work to get yourself prepped for this, watching videos and talking with your crew. You really ran an outstanding race today. You must be very happy with the performance, I would think.
Yeah, we ran a solid day. That's all we could ask for. You know, the M&M's Camry was good. I can't say enough about Joe Gibbs Racing and the way we all communicated with each other, and especially Mike Ford and Denny Hamlin, those guys, for giving us the help and leading in a direction that we need us to go. I can't thank him enough for that, and giving us a good piece to come out here with, and Dave for putting, you know, everything else aside and going with it. You know, he's a strong-willed person, and he did a great job by being able to do that. And can't say enough about these guys. Again, we had a great car. M&M's Camry was good, and wish we could have got up there and battled a little bit better on the long runs, but seemed like we were, you know, about a third, fourth place car.
Total team effort got Kyle Busch to third here today.
Back-to-back seasons where Kyle Busch has been impressive. Jeff Gordon gets the ultimate celebration. He continues to have some fun in victory lane this afternoon here at Pocono. In points, but we think today's win will help get him into the chase at the end of the year. And Denny Hamlin hanging on to that final wild card spot right now in 12th. Let's hear from Denny. Matt Yoakum.
Consternation and frustration for Denny Hamlin and the 11 guys. Denny, how do you even describe this day knowing what a great race car you had early on?
Yeah, I mean, we were just coasting really there at the beginning, and just nothing really went right. I mean, we struggled a little bit on pit road. We gave up about 10 seconds on pit road to the first green flag stop to the 42, and he short pitted, so that made it look even worse. And we were just a little bit off on sequence, so you know, those guys would gain a lot while we were out there on older tires. And then just through the day, just our car got a little bit tighter. We're still in contention. I felt like the front bump rubbers gave up on us a little bit there at the end, possibly. But then when we left pit road and had a flat tire, I mean, that's just not your day. And you know, when it did that, it sheared the tire, wrapped it around the housing, then broke the brake line, so I had no brakes, and just was a slew of problems there at the end.
Denny Hamlin, 19th today here in Pocono.
And Matt, when we go to Michigan next week, he'll be the defending race winner. Hamlin won this race 1 year ago. Not today. This afternoon belongs to Jeff Gordon.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.